Rev TV brings the world of motorsports into your home with over 100 live race series such as MotoGP, IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, Extreme E, World Superbike, and the newly launched all-electric E1 series. From 2 wheels to 4, from land to sea, your destination is Rev TV.
Well, another fantastic afternoon of racing set to kick off here on Sunday afternoon, and this time out, it's going to be for one of the greatest spectacles in all of motorsports. Welcome to Indianapolis and to the 8th annual Indianapolis 500. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. My name is Ola Rempel alongside Kenneth Bueno, and soon to be joined by Gary Godso, and this is the season finale of the Classic Indycar Series 11th season and 11th calendar year of competition. Kenneth, what a wild show this one is expected to be here this afternoon, as you got yourself over 30 cars gearing up and getting ready to rumble for 200 laps and 500 miles around motorsports' hallowed ground.
The pinnacle of virtual motorsports and the pinnacle of this Classic IndyCar Series. The drivers have been mostly spending their time preparing for this one race. Nothing quite comes close to winning an event like this. All 34 drivers have been ready to take the track here at Indianapolis, and should be a very fun show given all that's going to go down and the level of talent we have in this field will bring in for a spectacular showdown today.
And of course, critically here as well, with the championship being wrapped up one race early here, there is no title fight on the line, so you're not going to be seeing drivers like Tomas Busten playing it safe and easy here today. It is just full gas all the way through to the end of racing action this afternoon. This is just to see who gets last glory honors, but you could argue that winning this one race is even more prestigious than winning the entirety of the championship leading up to today.
That's true, and honestly, given the fact that the championship, Nolan, is already basically wrapped up with Thomas Mustonen getting the championship several races ago, it gives more incentive for all of these guys to go out, give all that they can give, 150+% in just this race alone at 500 miles and 200 laps, because there's no idea of, oh, I need to gain this amount of points to be able to do well. I'm just going to go out, give it all that I've got as a race car driver, and put it in for a race victory here in Indianapolis. Probably will give these drivers more of a why not attitude once that green flag comes out.
And that why not attitude has been present all throughout the month of November. You saw quite a few drivers actually crashing heavily in pole day qualifying, even more drivers slapping the wall in bump day qualifying. It was a constant rotating cycle all throughout the 3-hour session last week to see who would be filling up the final spots in. And critically, with one driver, Julian Altena, not showing up here this afternoon, Lewis Woodall, a driver that crashed in pole day qualifying, going to be taking up his spot here this afternoon as the 31st starter on the grid. As well as that, Adam Eckert, another driver that was not slated to run here today because he failed to qualify on bump day, well, he is putting himself in as another starter here in the field, as one of the series regulars, VJO, has actually withdrawn from the 500. That news, of course, coming in a few days ago. So all of this leading to quite the shakeup, especially at the back of the field.
Yeah, and it just shows you that in a level of racing like this, and even in virtual Indy 500 shakedowns, all the storylines continue to pour in, even just moments before the green flag. Lewis Woodall thought in that moment when he crashed, he was probably not going to have a chance to make it into the big race. He came into the last several days being like, I'm not going to be a part of this show. I'll be watching it on the broadcast. And now all of a sudden, look, he's got a second chance at life to take the green flag, albeit from the very back of the field, but a chance is a chance nonetheless, Nolan, to see those couple of drivers make their way into this field. Certainly very cool for them, given that they've got a second shot at life, and it could give them a chance at an Indy 500 win today.
The track, of course, is blisteringly hot, well over 110 degrees Fahrenheit, while the air temp only about 77 or 78. So it is right now a hot track surface, just like it was all throughout bump day and throughout pole day. And if the car conditions there were anything to go by, that means we are going to be in for an absolute hectic afternoon here. Quite a few cautions in last year's Indy 500, and with those track conditions being pretty rough, I don't think today's going to be any different.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy for the drivers at all on the track. And with these Dallara IR05s, the drivers have had a good chance to get used to these machines over the course of the last several seasons. But at Indianapolis, no matter what car you put on this 2.5-mile prestigious area of Indianapolis, it's going to be twitchy, it's going to be hard to drive. Drivers are going to be fighting on the edge of grip, especially coming off of turns 2 and turns 4. We've seen that being big problem spots for a lot of guys, no matter what car you drive. So even in this level of competition, you'll see a couple hiccups every now and then. Should provide, though, for a great race and to see who will be that best disciplined driver once 200 laps are complete.
And with all that said and done, it's time to figure out who's going to be starting where here this afternoon. And starting things off here today, it's of course going to be on row number 1, Henry Bennett alongside Andrew Wood and Tomas Mustinen. From there, row 2 on the grid, it's Logan Simmons, Matthias Strauss, and of course Ethan Hagen will be bringing it up at the end of row number 2. Then of course Ario Guerra Jr., Sebastian Kinder, Robert Grosser will be lining it up in 7, 8, and 9 here, Kenneth.
And then back then from 10 to 11 and 12, you'll have Robert Grosser, the German, there on the inside. In the middle, Cameron Dance. And then Florian Gaudet in the 61 outside in that secondary row. Johnny Garrett going to be lining up 13th in his number 68 machine. Jan Hoffman, the German, in 14th place, the middle of that row. And Bobby Love, the American driver, number 44, kicking it off from what's going to be 16th on the grid. Randy Shoemaker in the 3 going to be inside on the next row. In the middle, Lucas Lovehill and Lucas Santos, 18th. The American driver rolling off from the middle of what about the top 20 as we roll into the green flag.
And from there, Franz Josef Sturm back 19th alongside Jamie Wilson and Roden Eftink, Zachary Wareham, Andrea Giacometti, and Andrew Aiken coming in 23rd, 24th. Giacometti, one of the drivers that crashed and bumped a qualifying, just managed to make the show by the end of the day. And then Hans Pickett and Matt Molnar and Kevin Lovegren coming in all the way back to 27th.
And then at 28th, Robert Barncrow, the number 12 machine. Marshall Stanley kicking in from the middle in 29th. Eamon Law, the UK driver, in the number 30, going to be on the outside. Christian McCrelly in the 50 machine going to be next up with Lewis Woodall there, who just made the show from the last minute. Going to try and have this breath of life, using it all through the 200 laps tonight. Matthias Macromini, the Argentinian, going to be on the outside in that respective row. And then Adam Eckert locked into the show very late, given all of the changes in the storylines in the days leading up to the 8th annual Indianapolis 500. Nolan, that is the full 34 car grid, 33 total with the pace car here from Indy.
And of course, this lap here not going to be the lap that we go green initially, because we're going to get these drivers completely formed up here, right line of stern, and going 3x3 wide on the attempt to drive things on out here. So this race going to be a pretty special night, I think, for a lot of drivers here, as we get set to see who's going to be starting where. And I tell you what, for Gary Gotso driving up here in the front, it's got to be special, right? Being able to once again drive that honorary pace car heading the field.
know, not often in iRacing do you see somebody actually driving the pace car. It's a little funny to see just because in most other leagues they use that official iRacing pace car, that Mustang that just pulled off to the inside of pit road. So it's a little bit of a special honor when you get asked, hey, do you want to drive the pace car? Be our honorary pace car driver for a race as large as this. That Corvette leading the way. Gary Goodsall going to join us later on today, but I kind of envy his position, Nolan, just a little bit. I want to drive a pace car. That'd be fun.
That's a good-looking pace car as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that car looks absolutely fantastic. Once again, Classic IndyCar Series administration doing a fantastic job on the behind-the-scenes work for this machine. And, well, of course, Henry Bennett, a driver that has come into this race, started on pole position here, Kenneth, for the 5th time in Classic IndyCar Series competition. And that's going to be pretty special for Henry Bennett as well, right? Even in the real world, only a very, very exclusive handful of drivers can boast of that record. So for Bennett, he's been a record setter here in this one. However, he is still looking for another Indy 500 win, because it's been some time since he picked up his last one.
This will be the 8th annual Indianapolis 500 for the Classic IndyCar Series. He's been on pole for 62.5% of them. That is an incredible feat to be on the front row, let alone on the pole position, have the fastest time of them all. Henry Bennett has had such a stellar resume in this Classic IndyCar Series campaign. A lot of that with several oval wins to his credit. So Henry Bennett going to be that man up in the front. But like we've seen in the real-life Indianapolis 500-mile race and several other Indy 500 across the iRacing sphere, it's always lap 200. You've got to be that first man to the Art of Bricks when this race is all said and done. So there's a heavy task for Henry Bennett, but he's going to try and leverage that experience to another Indy 500 win in this series.
And this should be the final lap here before we go to green flag racing. The field is lined up 3 by 3 by 3 by 3 by 3 all the way back through the field. It is a sight that you see nowhere else but here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They call it one of the big Triple Crown races for a reason, and part of it is because of this absolutely traditional start, and it truly is a sight like no other.
It is beautiful. See cars 3 by 3 by 3, several rows deep across this Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Every time you see it, whether it's virtual or real life, it never quite gets old. Look at all those cars down the back straightaway, coming into 3 and 4 for the final time. One little thing that I found interesting was that the Indy 500 in this series is always the championship closer. Tony George, when he made the IRL in 1996, he wanted initially the Indy 500 to be the championship finale, much like we have here in this series. So kind of reimagining the dream that Tony George had all those years ago as the field ready for the 8th annual Indianapolis 500-mile race, the green flag.
Garrett Godso in that honorary pace car going to pull away, so he is well clear of this absolute hornet's nest at the pack, and to come back around into turn numbers 3 and 4. We're happy you're joining us for Sunday afternoon. One final race to close out the season here in 2025. It's the greatest race in all of the motorsports, and we're green in the Indy 500. Coming around turn number 4, it's going to be Henry Bennett leading the way here at the end of lap number 1. His teammate Andrew Wood firing in from behind as the pack screams into turn number 1 for the second time here this afternoon, and already getting ourselves single filed out. We had a caution pretty early on in last year's 500. The big question is, are we going to survive for another one here today?
Well, it looks like everyone so far single file. This is the method you want to carry in a race as long as this, Nolan. You want to be as consistent as possible, but also you want to keep your car clean. Last thing you want to do is be a little over-aggressive on the racetrack in these first few laps. You have all those anticipations, all the jitters behind the wheel of the race car when you take the green. You can't let yourself be too overzealous. And as you ride on board with 4th place Logan Simmons, this is the method you got to carry. Stay in the draft, stay calm and collected. It's a long way ahead. As long as you can keep tracking the draft, that's all that matters so far in the first few.
Now defending champion Tomas Mustonen still running in that third place as well. Already going to be trying to make some ground here as he seeks to drive it to the inside of Andrew Wood. Doesn't look like he's going to have much dice for him, though. This time he nearly catches the wall there, though, in the chute between 3 and 4. And you got to be careful, right? That wall caught a few people out in pole day qualifying. That's not something you want to be playing around with too often.
Yeah, and that dirty air, when all that turbulent air is coming from the back end of a race car, you carry all of that into these corners. And again, Indianapolis doesn't have a lot of banking to it. 9.2 degrees, Nolan, across this 4-turn rectangle in 2.5-mile configuration. So you got to be very wary. That car steps out, get a bit of that understeer. It's going to carry up the hill. First thing you will see is that outside wall. So we've seen turn 2 and turn 4 be very treacherous spots. You carry just a bit too much speed. The car has no rotation. You're going to find yourself into that wall very soon, and it's going to create a lot of trouble. But it looks like all these guys, from about first all the way down to P6, Ethan Agan just kind of tailing off this group before you get to Robert Grosser, who's about a 2nd and 3/10 behind. They're all very close to each other. Just want to be a little bit careful that you don't step into that turbulent air too much. Play with the weight jacker behind the wheel of the race car and a bit more turn through the corner.
At this point, quite a significant fallback here for that secondary pack. I'm a bit surprised to see such a huge margin being opened up early on here, but potentially helped out by drivers trying to overtake, like Cameron Dance going to the inside of Sebastian Kinder. He's going to get around the Frenchman. He also gets around Ariel Guerra Jr. And Cameron Dance, a driver that was fighting with Mustonen for the lead all throughout this season, going to be sliding himself into the 8th place position here.
Try to dance with some other drivers right back to turn 1. Good battle for 10th now, building up. Sebastian Kinder now under fire from Johnny Garrett to the inside. So going to be the first proper passes we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of the handling differences, especially back here in the edge of the top 10, Nolan. The top 6, they're very calm and collected. They seem to be okay handling-wise. A lot more loose moments, some wiggles here and there, especially there from Garrett, who's going to give up 9th. They're going to fall back. Actually, he's going to move up into 10th. So for Kinder, a bit of the wiggles, that'll fall him to 11th. You'll see all of that action happening mid-pack. So all that separation is kicked in. And even back beneath the top 25, Nolan, lots of great battles so far. Drivers now starting to get just a bit more comfortable behind the wheel back to turn 1.
Johnny Garrett going to pick off Guerra Jr. And Kinder will look to follow through as well. Potentially our first retirement of the day as well. Kevin Lovegren out of the race, and that, Kenneth, is going to be due to a technical failure on Kevin's part. So already our 33rd driver down and out of this race before we even get 20 miles in.
That's so tough to have a driver, prepare so much for a race like this. You have your arms in length, you say, hey, let's go, and then all of a sudden you have packet loss. It's one of those gremlins on iRacing that's unique to online racing. In real life, you'll have an engine go away, you'll have suspension failures, you'll have a bunch of other mechanical problems. We don't really have that on iRacing. The real trade-off is that if your computer freezes, if your screen goes away, if your hardware disconnects at any moment, or in the case of Lovegren's situation, just internet going out, you don't have an ability to stay in the session, and so that is the gremlin that'll take you out of that race. I mean, a couple laps in, that's the last thing you want to see in the race like this. Hopefully Lovegren can get back in. I believe now has connected back into the session, so we'll come back in several laps down. Race not completely over yet, but just tough luck, especially early on.
Hans Pitkinen making a move on Roden Evetank. Pitkinen, one of the drivers that when he got to bump day qualifying, that number 8 car shot out from underneath him coming out of turn 2, overcorrected and slammed hard into the concrete wall on the outside of the racetrack. So it was lucky to make it into the show here, managed to re-qualify later on throughout the course of bump day here. And Hans Pitkinen now up to 25th place, and he's going to continue to try to make up moves. This secondary package for about 10th on down has really been putting on a stellar show so far.
Yeah, they've been putting on some close races. Ariel Guerra Jr. in the 11 machine, Florian Gaudet started this race just a bit far back in 12th, but it's exactly where he stays currently inside the first few laps of this race. And this is where they're all going to mix and match, right? Trying to figure out what places am I better than the other driver. Is it the inside of the corner? Am I getting better rotation on the other end of the speedway? Where can I maximize the best point of the race? And we'll see that as this run continues. The tires of Firestone Firehawks will continue to fall away. So any amount of tire saving you can implement in these first few laps will be crucial, because 25, 30, 35 laps into a run, you'll see that big time difference weigh in a massive way. And it'll demonstrate itself especially in this close-knit pack at the top of the team.
And unfortunate news again, by the way, Lovegren had himself rejoined to the racetrack, and as he gets onto the racing surface, the exact same problem befalls him again, and he's going to be forced at a pit road as a result. Tough break for Kevin Lovegren.
Yeah, back on pit road. Looks like the race is going to be over. I mean, you're several laps down. The only real good thing about it is that you are laps down in a race as long as this. So more often than not, with cautions, you can try and get yourself back on the lead lap. But for Lovegren, looks like the day is going to be over already. Very tough breaks. Again, you don't want to see any driver get out of the race for any situation, let alone internet connection problems that really have nothing to do with the driver themselves. They kind of have no control over that, because it can happen to anyone at any given moment. No matter how reliable a connection can be, in 1 second, it can go away in the next. So just tough to see Lovegren out of this race so early on. Would have wanted to see Lovegren back in this one, but unfortunately will be one of the first DNFs of this race as we continue to stay green only.
And just over 10 laps into this race, we're going to welcome in the honorary pace car driver, and of course our third chair tonight, Gary Godso, jumping back into the broadcast booth. And Gary, a pretty exciting opening 10 laps here. By this time, we already had one caution out tonight, and so far, it's looking pretty good here. A lot of drivers playing it conservatively early on.
Yeah, it looks like this first group of 6 has decided to get in line and play nice and realize it's still early. We got a long ways to go. 500 miles is a ton of race distance for these cars, and 200 laps is plenty of time to play nice at the beginning, get situated, get to that first round of pit stops, and then let's go racing a little bit later. But let's work on strategy and fuel saving now.
So the field going to continue to fight things out here between the pack here and Kenneth. You got Henry Bennett, Andrew Wood still running 1-2. The Power Slide Team Chimera group has been on point throughout the entirety of this race so far, but how much do we think that that's just because drivers like Mustanen, Simmons, and Moore are just saving fuel back here?
I think it's more the latter, right? You're going to be saving fuel. You're hanging in the draft. Look how close these guys are to each other. You realistically think that any one of these guys at any given moment can pull out, make a move in the draft, and try to be in that clean air. But when you have a race that extends as long as this, and when you kind of see the writing on the wall, right? You see what's going on in a race like this, and you tell yourself, do I really want to be at the front of this field right now? Do I want to be wasting the most fuel? Or can I lay back and just lay off the gas pedal? Even if I'm about 85% throttle in the middle of the group, I can still be saving just a little bit more fuel than that driver who's up at the front, having to not save and push as hard as possible, or else they're going to fall through the cracks. So honestly, I just think it's an amount of saving right now. I don't think it's any given indication that we're going to see hard-knit battling until we get further into this race, but maybe I'll be proven wrong. I mean, here's a good battle inside turn 3. Johnny Guerra looking to the inside of Robert Grosser. That'll be a quick pass inside turn 3. Off turn 4, looks like inside top 10 position.
The sense of urgency here in the second group. We're on just almost 50 miles into this thing, and they are behind the lead pack by 4.1 seconds. That could be, that's like 4 laps, 4 miles.
Oh.
It could be might as well 4 miles. Wall car in the wall. Garrett in the wall. But it could be like, even though it's 4 seconds down the road and you can see them, it might as well be 4 laps for the way that these cars so incrementally and so small reel in distances in front of them unless there's a big problem.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, these cars, they have a lot more of that dirty air wash, especially on the ovals like this one, than the IR18s have in a more modern age, where we see swap drafting becoming a much more prominent occurrence. And some of that does lead to some of that dirty air leading to some tight moments. I mean, we just saw Johnny Garrett get tight and clip that outside wall between turns 1 and 2, and I thought for sure we were about to see our first yellow flag of the afternoon, but they were able to survive. But man, these drivers continue to just flirt ever closer with that wall, especially the exit of 1.
Nolan, you know what's the craziest thing about that instance? Garrett hit the wall, they checked up behind him, and then Garrett pulled away by at least 2 to 3 tenths of a second. That was just insane to see how much everyone had slowed down. They were faintly 3 wide, and it nearly became disastrous at a moment's notice. Again, you do not want to wreck this race car so early on, but I guess in the mid-pack, the action is urgency, trying to move up as much as you can, given how separated all these packs are. The idea is if you go green flag pit stop racing, and you're so far beneath the main group, you're going to fall a lap down potentially, or you'll just be so far back in distance without being a lap down that it's going to be rather hard to put yourself in a race-winning situation unless the yellow comes out to fully reset the field. And the aggression continues. I mean, back in the top 20, you're watching Lucas Santos, the 19 machine, Marshall Stanley, Randy Shoemake in the 18th spot. All of these drivers starting to peak 2 and potentially 3 wide just to get every bit of edge they can. The onboard look from Andrew Aitken running 21st gives you a good look.
A little rub against the wall could have been really bad because the way that they're following each other so closely, a little lift like that is just as good as hitting the brakes in one of these cars. And the closing rates, we've talked about this in a number of races this season, the closing rates in these cars. Oh, 2 cars side by side going through. One, turn 1, and they got a little crowded in there. And slices up in front of them. Oh, now we're going to side by side with 2 cars coming down the backstretch. That's Wareham and Santos on the inside.
Now, Lucas Santos, relatively new to the Indycar scene on iRacing, I believe making some of his first starts in the discipline in general this year, and I do think this is as well one of his first Indy 500 attempts as well. It definitely is his first here in the Classic IndyCar Series. He was worried he wasn't going to make it in. He had a rough go on pole day, managed to make some setup adjustments and get that car dialed into where he wanted it. Fought his way through pole day, qualified around 17th, I believe it was, by the end of the day. So, of course, Santos on the back foot so far this afternoon, down 4. And he's trying to just recover at this point, but it's no easy task as he has just dropped half a second behind Zachary Wareham.
And he's made several starts. Lucas Santos had on the oval side 4 total oval starts. Last one at Auto Club Speedway back in mid-October, and best finish of 12 in 2 races that included Auto Club and at Richmond. So just sort of getting into the rhythm of oval racing, and it's always interesting to look at leagues like this, Nolan, because you've got all those guys that are prevalent at the road courses. That's their bread and butter. And then when they go to the ovals, they struggle a bit more. And then those drivers who are just oval specialists, they struggle a bit more on the road courses, but they elevate and balance out the point standings in competition with their dominance on the oval side. For Lucas Santos, I mean, trying to get both balances together in oval racing and in road course racing, making that first Indianapolis 500 start today, as you mentioned, running 22nd. Not entirely bad if you're making your first start in a field like this, and your idea is just keep all 4 tires on the racetrack. That's the first goal and the most important.
Sorry, saw some action. Now, we got a car on the wall in this north end of the racetrack. It is Lewis Woodall and Roden Eftink.
Lewis Woodall crashed in pole day, and he is going to be one of the first drivers officially out of this race. That comes just after Matthias Ezekiel Marcamini found himself driving it hard into the wall. So first off, this is what happened to Marcamini, and this is what caused him to be slow here. This is, oh boy, coming around through 2, a massive snap for the 77, and a good job to get that car back underneath him. And unfortunately, Kenneth, coming down in towards turn number 3, it was a collision between Eftink and Lewis Woodall that sees us under the yellow flag for the first time tonight.
And you'll see the contact happen right at the exit of turn 3. The idea here with these Indy cars is that you want to make the passes in the corners as quickly as possible. You want to settle it down the straightaways and then clear when you come off of the corner. But you see that bit of a wiggle from Woodall. Another look at it down the inside. The car makes the move, looks all business as usual, but then just a bit of a step out from the rear end, has to catch it up the hill, and then there's no space between himself and Roden Eftink. So once that wheel-to-wheel contact is made, there's really nothing you can do to save either of those IR05s. There's that wiggle right there from from Woodall. That makes the big difference. Both of them go hard into the outside barrier, and that may be race over for both of those machines, and an early end to Woodall's attempt at an Indy 500 win.
Yeah, you see a little bit of a telltale twitch there as the exit of the corner. Normally it means a little bit too much weight jacker. Not always the case. And had to chase it up the racetrack and into the side of Road Neftink. And another early day for one of the Altina Auto Sports cars. But we are an interesting part. It could be too early to come to pit road. It could be a good time to come to pit road. Now, if we're in the IR18, I would say we're coming to pit road. IR18, only 18 gallons worth of fuel. The IR05, the IR09, whatever you want to call it here, is 22 gallons. So you want to come? Do you want to see maybe we get another caution? So we got a lot of people that looks like they're just going to go and use this opportunity and make this their first pit stop.
Well, if you want to make any kind of major setup adjustments, right, onto your car that you can make, now's the perfect time to do it, right? You've had about 25 laps of running. You have a good idea now of how your car is going to handle in traffic. The fuel window for the race today as well, I think this is also important to know. We were over halfway through that fuel window, which was looking to be around 34 to 36 laps. So, Kenneth, from my perspective, not too much benefit to staying out when you're pitting within 10 laps anyway, almost guaranteed to lose a lap there.
Yeah, you don't really want to do that, especially when you understand that pit window. And right now, I mean, you've completed 20-ish laps. You're looking at yourself like, all right, you know, got the notes on this first run. Let's just come down pit road. Why am I going to stay out on old Firestone Firehawks if I know there's going to be a big difference there and I know that the grip's going to go away very differently? Plus, you also have to accommodate the fact that drivers who have spent the entirety of this first run in dirty air now have to adjust to clean air if they're that first one staying out. And you don't really want to make that big-time wave change behind the wheel of the race car, because then the handling can change big time. The fuel difference would be too big. And so I think it's the safe call, Nolan, for everyone to visit pit road as they've done right now. Even if they're still in the same place and they don't get any track position, the idea is you're on the same level playing field. Had this race gone green, it's an entirely different story. Then you can try and put your hand out the window, extend as much as you can, and then try something differently to gain maybe that extra position or two. But for right now, at a caution at this point in the race, it's just a safe bet to visit pit road like everyone else did, and really no outliers in this group, ideally.
And Ronan Eefting's right side pod there, all sorts of torn up as it comes down and into pit road. I don't think he was able to come down that first time out, but he is going to come down for that for the second attempt. And boy, that you hate to see that so early on with one of these race cars, but such is the way. IndyCar racing bites hard when you screw up, and boy, it bit both Eefting and it bit both of them real bad.
I think Eefting was a little bit more of a innocent victim on that one. He was on the outside trying to give room, and there's a little bit of a twitch there by Lewis. Goes up the racetrack, slaps him in the side, puts them both into the wall. Yeah, that's Eefting is probably wondering, I gave you room. You know, what was going on there? But in these open setup races, I mean, you're halfway through a run, you're halfway through a fuel load. Your setup's going to change, and if you're not staying on top of your car on the tools, which I'm not saying Lewis wasn't, because I think maybe he might, like I was figuring, he had a little too much maybe weight jacker, and that's what causes that little bit of twitch on exit, on corner exit when you're in a lot of these turns. And that could have been it right there. But, you know, we're also looking at pretty warm track temp at 116 degrees. And if Lewis was wearing out that right rear a little bit, you know, that along with a hot racetrack is probably not enough to, you know, well, probably is more than enough to get the car just to twitch. But it just, it probably felt big to him. It was tiny to us on the screen. We barely noticed it, but it was enough to move him up the racetrack. And now we're getting ready to go green here at lap 28, and everybody's on the same fuel cycle.
And Kenneth, I'm sure for both of those drivers, you're going to be seeing quite a bit of concern on stability for Eefting, with a lot of the aero being lost off of the right side. And of course, for Lewis Woodall, his nose cone bit dented, but otherwise looking relatively clean. So we'll see how that one's going to pan out between those two drivers. Green flag, though, back in the air. 25 laps in, and 185 still to go.
Big difference here from this restart versus the opening lap of the race. Look at the separation from 4th to 5th and 6th. Matthias Strauss, Ethan Hagen have been left away from the pack. They're starting to pick up the rest of the crumbs in this quartet of grouping coming down to turn 2. Maybe some track position changes, but that will be big time in terms of the difference on fuel saving, Nolan. We saw the top 6 all collective together in that first opening run. Now they're all separated. It's going to be fun to see how they all end up given the situation now with less cars.
Team Chimera definitely scripted that restart. You can see both their drivers were on it. Probably a countdown from Henry saying, okay, let's go. And on comms, he and Andrew go at the same time and allow that first two to pull away. Now we got Thomas, who's moving back into the battle here. And Logan had himself a good restart, but he has left his teammates behind him and is now hanging on to the draft of Mustanen. Mustanen hanging on to the draft of the lead 2 Chimera cars.
And all of this while they continue to battle outside of the top 10. Two packs of 2 wide here coming down to turn 3. And you're going to see Matt Molnar up 13 on the day. He's going to clear Jamie Wilson. And Florian Gowd dropped back to the 14th place spot as well. Robert Groscher still in the mix. He has been able to link up with Vortex Sim Racing teammate Lucas Laville. Frenchman making yet another Indy 500 start. Lucas was not one of the regular runners. He was more part-time throughout the championship, but still coming out here and making yet another Indy 500 start alongside Robert Groscher. One of very few drivers that has attempted almost every Indy 500 start. And then, of course, Marshall Stanley. Marshall Stanley has made a lot of stories here this season. Of course, he took his first ever win in Classic IndyCar Series competition in, I think, about his 60th start thereabouts. And wouldn't it be something to take win number 2 in the Classic IndyCar Series' most prestigious race?
Well, it doesn't matter how much resume you have in this Classic IndyCar Series. You win the Indy 500, you're legendary. You're going to be in the books forever for this series. So it doesn't matter if you're a driver searching his first win, somebody searching their 59th win, someone searching their 150th win. It doesn't matter who you are. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway can give you glory, it can give you defeat, it can give you every single emotion in the book. And if you're able to walk away with the dub, it's going to be big time. Here's a good pass for 16th place. Marshall Stanley to the inside of Lucas Laville. We've seen a lot of more imbalance between these guys in the top 15, especially Robert Grosser. He lost a couple spots in a matter of maybe 2 to 3 corners several laps ago just because of that instability behind his IR05 machine. But again, mid-pack is where everyone is starting to cut their teeth. Every little position means so much, especially when you think about the potential for green flag pit stops to enter this race at some point.
A lot of aero wash there they were getting here and rolling out of the power. Stanley's going to take a peek to the inside down the backstretch. He should get that position. He's racing a teammate, so they're not going to really race each other hard there. Stanley gets the position going into turn 3. So a couple of spots gained by Marshall Stanley in the last couple of laps over teammates Groscher and Laville.
Well, Lucas Laville also going to look to the inside here, and he's going to pick off Robert Groscher and looking to maybe try to follow through. Backing out the last second was Bobby Love. Bobby Love, of course. Oh, boy, another big snap there from the 9-9. But Bobby Love here, one of the drivers that had a vicious crash in pole day qualifying. Lost it out of 2, slammed into the inside tire barriers out of turn 2. And the shot was so hard it cannonballed him back across the racetrack, back into the outside wall so hard that the car caught air when it hit the outside fence. He was able to, of course, recover from that, qualify his way in. Still in pole day, mind you. And now he finds himself racing here in the 500, although he was dropped back to 19th. He had a bit of a wash coming out of turn 4, and that lets Santos try to drive around the outside of him here into turn number 1, and he's going to be forced to yield.
Yeah, it's getting tight there.
And these are cars, Nolan, right at the tiptoe of grip. tiptoe of stability. These are all guys, I mean, Robert Grosser, Lucas Santos, Bobby Love, they've all had a bit of trouble off of this most recent restart with all the fuel, maybe the tires on the race car as well, just to get back into this thing. The setup changes, you know, you can play with the weight jacker behind the wheel of this car as well. These Indy cars come with that, so you can play around with the sway bars and get really fun with either a loose condition or maybe a tighter condition. That's where everyone's really starting to experiment. And I think it's almost working for some, but those guys in the mid-pack, especially Grosser, Santos, and Love, having a bit more trouble just trying to dial in what's going on behind the wheel. Here's Zach Wehrman, the 98 machine, running inside the top 25. Started this race 22nd, just currently trying to run down Franz Josef Stum, and a good run off of turn 2. This is where you want to make your money, Nolan. Down these straightaways. You don't want to be playing heavy contention in the middle of these corners, because like we saw with that first yellow, any bit of a mistake can cause chaos. Luckily, it was only 2 cars dead, but it could have been way more had the field been more tightly connected like this one is. The onboard look right behind Joseph Stum, looking off turn 4, and the wiggle for Wehrman trying to search for 23rd.
Quickly getting up to the 100-mile mark, and I want to give a couple drivers some shout-outs out there. Adam Eckert up 13 spots, Marshall Stanley up 14 spots, and Matt the Hammer Molnar up 15 spots up into 11. And I think we need to start paying attention a little bit more to Matt. He has started 26th and is now in 11th, and he is all over the back end of Guerrera, and that is going to be another position that he's going to pick up here momentarily, but he has himself plenty of time and obviously more than enough pace to be a player at the end of this race. And you don't see it very often in Indy 500 history where you have someone from 25th on up and or in the starting lineup that gets to the lead. You almost saw it with Joseph Newgarden this 500 until he had that fuel pickup issue late in the race. But the farthest back that anyone has ever won the 500 is 28th. It has happened on a couple of occasions. Consider the first one was actually Ray Haroon in the very first 500. So we should keep an eye on Matt Molnar, 26th up to 11th, and plenty of time, and he's done that on the first 100 miles.
Of course, Matt Molnar has never finished in the top 15 of a Classic IndyCar Series Indy 500. He is right now making his 3rd attempt. His highest finishing position was 17th. That was last year.
Caution.
After starting 29th. Caution flag is out, and it is for
Lewis Woodall again.
Oh, again? Oh, yeah, that'll
yes,
do it.
Lewis Woodall had trouble, guys.
Oh,
he was back on the racetrack, and like Roden Emtink was trying to regain track position, there were several laps down after the first yellow, and Lewis Woodall has a singular incident off of turn 4. And this one, guys, a much more catastrophic impact. He's running through 3 and 4. He's trying to use that second lane for just a bit more rotation. Car's going to step out right there, and he's going to go nose first into the inside wall.
Oh, boy.
And almost collects Roden one more time.
Oh, yeah, there you saw him flash by on the inside. That would have been a stroke of irony or whatever you'd call it at that point. I mean, holy cow. And you know, this is extremely reminiscent of pole day, because it wasn't Lewis Woodall, right? But we did see Rafael Rodriguez crash in effectively identical fashion into that exact same point on the inside of the racetrack. And Justin Lewis Woodall even found himself stopped against the outside wall facing backwards. It's funny how Indianapolis has a way of recreating the past.
Let's see if anyone decides to split on the strategy here. We're still pretty early in this run, 13 laps. And I would imagine the leaders will stay out. But I imagine somebody further on back will take a gamble here. And if we go on another long green flag run, those that come to pit road now will inherit the lead. And then that they'll hope at that point is that they'll catch another caution.
Right.
Watching this replay, just up high in the gray, also the back end. He probably had an ill-handling car to begin with, and it kind of a snap loose there on exit. Probably a lot of weight jagger to try to get that car to behave, and it goes right into that inside wall that Ari Leyendyke, when they had the IROC race here, bounced off of.
And Kenneth, just like Gary predicted, split strategy here. Right now, about a third of the field staying out. Everyone else is coming in.
And the race leader is in, most notably the pole sitter, Henry Bennett. So he's going to gamble here on this second pit stop alongside several of his other teammates and several other drivers in the middle of the pack. It looks like lifts are going to be up. Jacks are up for 4 fresh Firestone Firehawks. And a very quick pit stop for Henry Bennett and the rest of the gang. That will limit track position, of course. Logan Simmons, Tuomas Mustonen, and Matthias Strauss going to be top 3. So for Henry Bennett, huge question mark. It's going to be good for saving fuel, that's for sure. But handling-wise, how much does that car change, given now he's going to be in much more turbulent air than he's been all race long?
Good exercise for him, because at some point, if he does get back into the pack, some point during this race, he'll want to know how the car handles, and he'd rather have that happen now in the first 100 laps or for the first 100 miles or so than have it like 3 laps to go and I can't handle in traffic anymore and I got to pass 2 guys to get the win. So this is probably a good exercise to go back and see. Maybe they've done some testing and they got some setup tweaks they can make to make their cars handle better in traffic, and maybe it's a good time in the race that we're in those dog day laps, right? There's nothing happening. You're just kind of going between laps to get to the next stint, to get to the next stint, to get to the final stint. So I don't think it's a bad idea what they did. I also don't think it's a bad idea for Mustonen, Simmons, and Strauss to also stay out. At this point, you got nothing to lose. Go ahead and give it a shot. And if they go green on a long green flag run, they'll give up that lead, because the other guys behind that came to pit road will pick back up that lead, will pick up back the former lead. But what they'll do is, again, if we go another green flag run beyond that, they will then pick up the lead. And then if they pick up a caution in that time frame, well, then that's good luck on the strategy, and that's going to get them a lot of track position. So a gamble now might pay off later, not the next stint, but maybe the stint after.
Oh, and Roden Eefting's day goes from bad to worse. He has just been black flagged for entering a closed pit road. Of course, the pit's closed once you go 1 to green. Eefting came in after that, so a car that already had a bunch of damage. No, this is a full black flag. He's going to have to come back down pit road under green.
Oh, okay.
And with him having all of that damage, Kenneth, that effectively kills his race.
Yeah, I mean, you're already several laps down from the incident. I mean, Efting was just trying to get his laps back, right? He was just putting on the racetrack, much like Lewis Woodall. I mean, they're running by themselves,
He's
but
jumped out too.
Again, it's all in that hope that you can get back in this race. And having a full black flag where you have to serve it under the green flag, I mean, that's a killer. You're going to go another lap down, maybe 2. If you have trouble coming in on that run, you can get another pit road penalty and just have it compound and make it all the more worse. Luckily, the good thing for Efting, guys, is that it's so early in this race, so there's still a chance for him to slowly crawl his way back into this thing. Storylines will continue to change and develop over the course of the day. However, it's not a start you would want, especially with a driver with a name like Roden Efting, so good in these Indy cars. You're taking out a pretty prominent name very early on from this trouble.
Yeah, it looks like he has went ahead and withdrawn from the car. Hasn't withdrawn from the session. I would imagine that he's up on the box working with some of the other Alpina Auto Sports cars. But pace car getting ready to leave, and it's going to turn the lead over to our now reigning series champion, Tuomas Mustonen. And then we got Simmons, Strauss, Egan, and Kinder. A whole bunch of Team Watson Racing cars all in a line. Bit of a handicap match up front for Thomas.
Green flag back in the air as Mustonen takes off towards turn 1, trying to get a good advantage over Logan Simmons and Matthias Strauss. Bit of even spacing here between at least the top 4, and that implies these guys will likely close in on each other here before too long as they hightail to the back straightaway. And Matt Molnar, one of the drivers that hasn't pitted that we were keeping tabs on, he is already into the 7th place spot, while Andrew Aitken dives the inside of Strauss, trying to make a run here for the top 10.
Also should point out, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I also want to point out, I saw real quick, the Team Chimera has kind of split strategies. They got Jamie Wilson on the off strategy now, while the 2 leaders they had earlier with the Catalyst Andrew Wood and Henry Bennett, our pole sitter, on the prime strategy. So the Team Chimera squad has split strategies right now.
in a split. Just see which strategy works, I guess, right? You can kind of experiment on both ends. You use someone as a sacrifice, if you will. But if it's not a sacrifice and it works out, then you could just have both ends be good as always. But I was going to say that battle up in front was going to help Henry Bennett. You see how congested this pack just got. Andrew Wood going around, Cameron Dance, Randy Shoemake giving way in the middle of turns 3 and turn 4. You got to be really careful here with all this traffic moving in the middle, that Henry Bennett would love nothing more than to see some cars pack up, him have a chance on the fresh tires to be able to move through and gain some more track position, get back in at least some clean air if he's able to get around Andrew Aitken in the top 10.
Henry, he has well, now he's going to make a move on Robert down the backstretch. He was all over the attenuator of Robert going down the front stretch, and I saw him back off, and I'm like, okay, well, he's sitting here. He's going to bring Wood with him. He'll bring Wood right on with him through turn 3, and now he is at Florian's attenuator. But I thought he was kind of saving some fuel, but he decided not to save fuel, and he's going to have another run on Florian down the front straight as cars are starting to fan around Cameron Dance a little bit further back.
And Dance overshot turn 4. Robert Grosser was able to go for the over-under. Randy Shoemake drives through as well. That's a bit tight there coming down to the turn 1.
We're going to see bump drafting there.
Cameron Dance driving down to turn 2, trying to hunt down Shoemake as he takes the back straightaway, and he's going to try to go for a move again just behind him. Santos under fire from Guerra as well as from Jan Hoffman, as they drive it in deep into turn number 3. And all of this still in the opening 50 laps of the Indy 500.
Cameron doing a little dancing right now in Indianapolis. He's skirting through the traffic down to the inside. It was a good move to turn 3, made it happen, but you want to be so careful. It can get very sketchy. Again, one mistake can send all of these cars going into the wall. Ariel Guerra Jr. had a good move on Lucas Santos. He'll try to build the draft up here off of turn 2. And you can already tell, guys, just how much of a handling difference there is amongst these guys in this group, how big of a run you can carry through the corners if you just get that nose in just a little bit more, and that front turn is there. Another battle further up the road for 14th place. Dance up one more. Robert Grosser giving him the space.
Dance would like to see a good end to a season that just hasn't unfolded in the way he's wanted to. Nolan, we watched him all season long. He's defending series champ coming into this series, and he just didn't really have any of the races, with the exception of maybe one early in the season where I think he got a win, but none of the races really unfolded the way he wanted to this year.
He had a stellar opener at the Phillip Island circuit, right? And that was one of his few big wins of the season. It's been such a tough break for him all throughout this season. And it seems like just whenever he finally finds his footing, something happens and just causes his season to crater here. But I know he said he wants to be back for next season in 2026. He wants to come back with a vengeance. So Mustinen, if he comes back to defend his title, Cameron Dance, he's going to be hunting to try and take it back.
You know what they say, Nolan, hard times are temporary, right? You have all those moments, the bad luck that goes to you. If you continue to be resilient and you continue to push forward, at some point, the positive moments, all of the turnaround moments are going to come back for you. And for a driver as talented as Cameron Dance, on an average finish of 9.2 throughout this 2025 season, there's a lot of stuff to keep your hat on and be like, hey, I'm still contender. I can still run for these championships. I can still go at it for these wins. Just a matter of having the luck be on your side, and that's just all up in the air. Look at this battle inside the top 25, though, guys. Andrea Giacometti in the 38 holding on to this group. Zach Wehrman, Franz Joseph Stum, Hans Pittigan to the inside. Looking on Stum, that's going to be for 25th, and bringing another with him to turn 1.
Someone shot the gap. I think that was Barnicow shot the gap going into 1. He had a solid open spot and had a big run. He's like, I'm not wasting that one. I'm just going to take that position.
Hey, you got to go, right?
Yeah,
I mean, the door doesn't open up often here at Indianapolis, so when that door opens, you're not wasting any time. You're jumping to it because you have no idea when you're going to be able to make a move that easily again. Just up the road from them, Randy Shoemake trying to pressure Jan Hoffman. Right now in a Vortex Sim Racing sandwich for the Aero X driver. And looking like he's going to instead fall to Lucas Laville from behind. The Frenchman trying to have a run down the inside, and he's just going to get around him. And here comes Adam Eckert firing his way in. Of course, Eckert, one of the drivers that failed to qualify into the show, but he took up VJO's spot, his iconic motorsports teammate, who withdrew from the 500 in the days leading up to today.
He started 34th, dead last in this field, and he's already made up 13 to 21st. That is a big-time gain for someone that was at the back. You know, we started this race 3 by 3 by 3. Eckert was that lone car at the back, single file, just because he didn't have anyone else in his row. He was the final car on this 34 machine grid, or 33 machine grid. So for Eckert, he's done a whale of a job to not only survive in this race as long as he has, but to move up track position flawlessly. You know, we talk about Matt Molnar, how big of a gun he's been able to make over the first few laps. Adam Eckert is slowly achieving his mission of slowly working up to the field while he's letting all these battles build up. How about near 3 wide and almost faint 3 wide? It was almost there to turn 3 down to the inside. Zach Wareham makes the move for 22nd.
Zach in a livery very reminiscent to what Roberto Guerrero drove in 96 when he had the Pennzoil sponsorship on the side. Kind of a Penske-looking livery with the Penske Marlboro Penske striping, but in yellow. He is up in the 22nd position, right where he started. Yeah, I keep having to remind myself when looking at timing and scoring that we had 34 cars start this race because they're counting my pace car. So actually, I started from the pole, so I want that pole money, by the way. But we have to subtract 1 number from everybody in terms of positions gained, but still having a good day. Molnar says 19 of my timing and scoring, but he's in reality up 18. Jamie Wilson up 11. And Marshall Stanley now up 19, and they're all within the top 10 and within striking distance of seeing that lead, and we're not even to the halfway point. And the general rule is in IndyCar racing is you get to the second half of the race, you get to that last pit stop, and then once you get that last pit stop in, or at least the last 50 laps in, then it's time to go racing. They got themselves to a good point where they can just kind of cruise, pick off positions one by one for the next 150 laps or so, and they're going to get themselves in a position where they can start getting ready to go racing. Actually, they don't want to do it. Almost into the wall.
Zachary Wareham with a massive tank slapper from the inside of turn 3, and he nearly took out Robert Grosser above him. And Grosser lucky to escape that one as he continues to try to chase down Bobby Love, and I'm sure he's not even aware of how close that came to disaster, and I'm sure he doesn't want to know either, or he would not be so keen in allowing Wareham to stick behind him. Well, Wareham's going to try again, this time nearly running into the gearbox of the 99.
Saving that run to the last second and building it up, getting within inches. Net code doesn't take over, but he gets the position. And drivers, don't listen to me. 150 laps from now, the race is over. We want to do it more like 120, 115, 110 to get yourself in a position where you can do that last sprint. 55 laps down now of this race. Actually, we're not 55. What are we? We're at 52. We started with that pace car.
Yeah, something around that mark. And Randy Shoemake, low and slow. He's had a big problem over here. This is over in turn 2, so a pretty big incident here for the Aero X driver. Let's ride on board with him, Kenneth. And
I don't know. I think the car just stepped out, but it was a controlled slide.
Yeah.
It didn't look like it unraveled for him like we saw with Lewis Whittle off of turn 4, but I think he tried to just keep it stable. His idea was not move the wheel too much, because if you do so, the car's going to spin around. So he just had to take the bullet, go to the inside of the racetrack to that pit road access road that we may see in use if this race continues to remain green on pit road exit and that blend line. But tough situation there for Shoemake. Had a good running car inside the top 25, but now going to give up all that track position, thus all the draft as well.
Could have been a possible mechanical too. He might have had a monitor blink on him or something like that. Kind of turn those window updates off.
I almost feel like it's the second option there, because you never really saw the wheel turn to the right. There wasn't a whole lot of tire squeal. And like you said, Kenneth, a very controlled slide for Randy Shoemake. So I think, may have just been some sort of a technical issue then. Obviously, he got sorted because he is still out here on the racetrack and now running back at full chat, albeit at the very back of the field. And Officially, gentlemen, we are over a quarter of the way through this race with just under 150 laps to go.
And still such a long race left. I mean, you think of how much we've seen already. Several caution flags, different calls down pit road, and we still have so much of this race to go. We still have many more pit stops to come, lots of track position changes that can still come up. And again, we still mention this difference on tires and on fuel. Henry Bennett has only been able to move up to 10th. With all these other guys in the front, even on old tires and even staying out as long as they have, they've maintained track position. And in the R14, maybe you'll see a big time shift and it's a bit more different with these R05s. And give credit to these guys to be able to hold on to the track position that they've had. The only caveat is, as long as we stay green, their difference in coming in earlier versus everyone else is going to be rather large. And here at Indianapolis, it only takes one mistake for you to take yourself out of contention. I mean, look at what Kyle Larson did several years ago in his first Indy 500 attempt. It was just one pit road speeding penalty that took him from a top 10 run to be able to win to then out of that race a lap down in about 25th or 18th. So it just really takes one. I'm going to be really curious to see what the points championship leader, Tuomas Mustonen, does here, Logan Simmons and everyone else, as long as this race continues as is, and they'll have to come down.
Yeah, the leaders are now 33, coming to 34 laps into their stint. And the thing is, Thomas has led every single lap since the restart, so he has been punching a hole in the air for everyone behind him, and they've just been staying in the slipstream, working on that mileage. I suspect that we'll see Thomas hit pit road anytime in the next 3 to 5 laps for a green flag pit stop. But it does show you, you mentioned Henry Bennett, he did stop on lap 40. He is the lead car of that group of all the cars that did stop on lap 40, and he has not made up very many positions. Now the track temp is 125 degrees, so you would think newer tires at 125 degrees and heavy traffic would pay off a little bit better. That's telling me at this point in this race that track position pays more than new tires pay more, and I'm wondering if anyone else is noticing that, and if they do, it might be a call someone makes later in this race to stay out and opt for that track position to go to the front of the pack instead of coming to pit road for a new set of tires. And even though the CIS is paying the tire bill, there are no tire limits. You can smoke them if you got them, but it doesn't look like that the tires are paying off as well as we thought. It also could be playing a little bit of rope-a-dope back there. Henry might just say, hey man, it's still early in this race, maybe I don't need to push. But right now I don't see the benefits of the new tires.
Matthias Zeka Markamini has had a bit of an off-track excursion somewhere on the racetrack. This again over in 2. Whoa, that time! That actually is a big slide there coming out of 2. And again, making great use of that pit exit road. Hold on. Almost lost it again out of 2. A great save from Markamini to keep that car underneath him. He falls back to 29th of the racetrack, 5.7 behind Shoemake, but couldn't be worse. He could be out of the race.
That is so hard to do.
He should probably come to pit road.
Yeah, those tires are screaming at that point. That is such a hard thing to do. Save that car when it's in such a disastrous situation like that. And yeah, the call is obvious. It's a call that's got to come in.
Careful.
But what a save. I mean, that took, what, 2 whole corners of saving that race car.
Then he nearly crashed coming into pit road. So he is going to lose a lap. Tuomas Mustonen still leads the way. Now going on to the 37th lap of his stint, but the pit window is open. Here comes Andrew Aitken to the pits.
Andrew, 36 laps into his stint. So he's coming to pit road for his stop.
And so at this point, 4 tires and fuel can is obviously going to be the prime decision for pretty much every driver in the field. The only question is, if you're guys like Henry Bennett and Andrew Wood, do you pit with these guys here, or do you stay out and see what happens?
I think given the level of track position change and what we've seen that's benefited Mustonen, Simmons, Strauss, and all these guys in the front, why not? I mean, stay out the extra couple of laps, be faster, because the tires haven't made that big of a difference. So why think if they come down pit road, they're going to be getting so much more time, while you can save just a bit more fuel, extend that run, go for the overcut, and then you'll eventually come back around in track position I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, but maybe with the track position, they're thinking to themselves as teammates in Bennett and Wood that I guess if we do pit with them, we'll have a chance to stick with them. Because at tracks as large as these, when you have green flag pit stops, everything's going to change. All that distance is going to grow.
Oh, jeez, everybody.
The leaders, Musson, Simmons, Strauss, Hagan, everyone in this top 5 will come in. Marshall Stanley will stay out to lead the lap. Henry Bennett and Andrew Wood make the decision that I was predicting, guys, staying out as this first round of stops comes in.
Boy, that was
their teammate Jamie comes in.
Oh, no, and they've crashed! One of the Chimera cars just got into TWRS, and that has caused Florian Gow to spin it in pit road.
That's Jamie. That's Jamie on the alternate strategy.
Oh, no.
Oh, and okay, so what happened, and that was Florian, right? So Florian was a little bit faster on pit road on the limiter and was going to try to pass Jamie. But Jamie's pit stall was coming up, and so Jamie took a turn down to his pit stop, and he didn't pit stall, and he didn't know that Florian was inside. But watch this, Florian just looks like he's a little bit faster. Maybe he's not using his rev limiter or his pit limiter.
He's not.
And it could be that you go a little bit faster.
You can tell it's a use of pit limiter because there's no LEDs blinking on his dash.
Yeah. So he's doing it by probably by the black box. And that is actually a little bit faster. You can get a little bit faster and stay at a constant speed, which is a little bit faster, whereas maybe Jamie was on the button.
And that's going to give both drivers enough damage. Those could be not terminal damage, but end any hopes of being competitive.
Performance damage for sure.
And it's going to put him a lap down as well. So it's going to be even worse.
Goodness gracious.
Well, that group up that just pitted, they just did about 1 lap shy of 100 miles on a single tank of gas. Keep that in mind. So that might put final stops for a lot of those guys right around lap 160.
To the inside of Henry Bennett goes Andrew Wood. And Andrew Wood going to jump to the lead of the race and overtaking the pole sitter. Giving Bennett the chance
they're working together
to save
here.
some draft. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to work together here.
Working together to save a bit of that fuel. We saw that in the iRacing Indianapolis 500 last year. Hamilton, Akaboise, Michele Costantini, when they were working together, they were doing this, guys. They were just swap drafting, getting in front of the other. That's, of course, to save fuel. Every time that you can spend in the draft with maybe not 100% throttle, but maybe 95%, 90, sometimes 85%, as long as you can keep yourself right behind the tail draft of the car in front of you, you can save just a bit more than the driver in front. So Bennett and Wood, they understand their assignment. They've undercut. They're going to have to play this overcut strategy now. It's all about really just how much fuel they can save in this run and understanding how much track position and distance they have to all those guys that came in. If they can level out that gap and make sure it doesn't crunch down like we've seen in many other strategical races here at Indianapolis, that means they will hold on to the track position even if they come down pit road and they theoretically lose that time. So they've got that in mind. They're taking the notes throughout this run. They've got 4 seconds on third place Cameron Dan, so they have a lot of time to play with.
You know, what made that working together by Akaboise and Costantini even more impressive. They're not teammates. They don't work together. They just knew it unspoken. These two are on comms together. They're working and planning all this. So it should fall into their laps a little bit easier, but there's a ton of IndyCar starts, whether it be the IR05, the DW12, or the IR18 between these two drivers. Many, many championships. Certainly when we're talking Henry Bennett, whether it be from the Elite Racing League, Indy Fix Series, the old Indy Fix Series, any of those, we know that Henry has been around for a while, and then I personally know Andrew with a ton of starts, a ton of wins, a win, an Indy 500 win at the Lionheart level. These guys definitely know what they're doing, and they're in comms together working this thing out. But right now, Wood is not, Bennett is not close enough to Wood to try to do those slipstreams. He's like backed off a little bit.
Bit of a close call here between Lucas LaVille and Bobby Love, as they had a bit of a scary moment together coming off of turn 2. Right on board here with LaVille. I don't know if Love was trying to let him through or trying to defend. There you see Love all the way to the outside. I think he was trying to get out of the way. LaVille clearly didn't recognize it, and oh boy, that's a little close for comfort there. And just miscommunication, right? And that's why we say, hey, if you're a bit of a slower car, the one thing you got to do is be predictable. You're weaving all over the track like that, you make yourself a bigger hazard than you think you are.
I think the idea there for Love was that he wanted to be on the outside of the corner and then wanted to be on the very inside of the straightaway. So he was trying to make that crossover point, but as soon as the faster car was coming up on him, that blend happened very quickly. And so Love couldn't really understand. Then he just froze in place and allowed the car to the inside to make that move. That is scary stuff for the inside, as here's another driver down pit road. That is Lucas Santos, and we also saw third place Cameron Dance got wiggled sideways a few laps ago, guys, came down pit road about a lap ago, so Dance will give up his track position and currently runs 23rd.
We are missing an opportunity for marketing for Bobby Love's car. He's in the top 10. If we don't call this the Love Machine by the end of the race, we are not doing our job as commentators to try to find a marketing opportunity.
I'm sure we'll find an opportunity.
It's like odd, awkward silence as the Love Machine is actually coming to pit road.
Well, Bobby Love is going to make his way on into the box. Would it be the first driver to have technical issues today that sees him retire from this one? 70 laps into the Indy 500, working lap 71 of 200 now. And now we're starting to see everybody that did pit under that last yellow flag being forced to come in for their own pit stop window. So you got about a third of the field split into a different pit stop window that's offset by about 10, 12 laps or so, Kenneth.
Yeah, these guys coming up on what's going to be lap 34, 35 of their state. You figure that they can go just a little bit longer, maybe 5 laps, maybe less than that, before they eventually have to come in. And it's just that idea of playing the draft as much as you can, especially these guys right here. Eckert, Guerra Jr., Wareham, and even a bit of Jan Hoffman running P6. Just how much they can elevate their level of saving. Now that Henry Bennett has fallen a full second behind the race leader and his teammate, Andrew Wood. I mean, there was a 1/10 of a second difference between those two on one of the last laps, 2/10 of a second at one point on lap time. So it's really just creating a big time separation between those drivers. But I think that the biggest thing that's going to come up is, where does Mustin end up? He's 12th right now. How much time does he gain now that he's almost 13 seconds back of the next car in line? I mean, it's going to be tough, but it's not insurmountable with the structure of the race as we approach halfway.
Johnny Garrett with a problem here. He has just been given the mechanical flag.
Would be, he's down on power. He's going to the inside now. I don't know if he's had a packet drop, but he does have the meatball flag.
Like he does have the meatball flag in turn 1.
Ooh, okay, well that will do it.
Take a look on board.
Yeah, about the same lap he came off of turn 1. We mentioned understeer, we mentioned the weight jacket. There he was, hugging the wall in turn 2. It happens way before that. He comes down the front straightaway. He enters turn 1. Business as usual. He's in the normal line. I mean, you're carrying yourself, but that's so much speed. And there's that suspension. It kicks in, and that's more than enough to do damage to the wheel. And eventually he has to come down pit road. So that is the mechanical black flag given to Johnny Garrett. He'll fall a lap down or more, and that's going to be lengthy repairs for the number 68 car, guys.
Okay, so the group that just pitted, led by Mustanen, they stopped at 65. The group that's currently still running and are coming to pit road right now, that is Andrew Wood, our leader. Wood stopped on 40. So there's 15 laps difference between the first group and the second group. Let's keep that in mind.
Right now, Mustanen 27 seconds away from the leader based on pit road times being anywhere in the realm of 35 to 38 seconds. I'm thinking it's pretty safe to assume that we're going to be seeing this pack getting back to the lead of the race here by the time everything cycles through. Giacometti, McCrelly, and Wood all in to pit road this time by. Johnny Garrett, by the way, has gotten the black flag cleared. So the car at least repaired to the point where officials are happy about it. Although he is now 2 laps down. He is about to be 1 lap down as Henry Bennett comes to the pits.
Interesting, guys, that we saw those 2 cars, teammates in Wood and Bennett, come in on different laps. I mean, Wood's going to be by himself. Bennett's going to be by himself. And maybe at the help of Jan Hoffman running there, that red and white car all the way in the background. But if you're running out there on the track with not as much drafting help, it's going to limit the amount of fuel that you can save, number one. But number two, you're not going to have as much speed as you would. These guys, Mustonen, Simmons, Strauss, and the rest of the gang that are all running closely knit single file as they come across the turn one, how much time they can gain by just being in each other's presence, in each other's draft. With Wood and Bennett, all of those drivers separating, it's going to create such a large drift and really a benefit for all these guys that are now on the undercut strategy.
And Lucas Laville coming to pit road. And, while I'm watching him here on the video, keep in mind he is actually the Mr. Indy, or the Mr. CIS 500 of the league. Since 2016, here's his finishes here. 2016, second, a DNF, a third, a second, another DNS, and a fifth in 2024. This guy's finishing rate here at the Brickyard rivals that of we're talking Ferrucci, we're talking Weldon, we're talking Unser, we're talking Ted Horn back into the 30s. In terms of simulation, this is pretty amazing, because if you take this and translate that into real-world stats, there are very few drivers that are able to finish the 500 miles as high and as consistent as Lucas has in real life as he's done in the sim world.
Always the bridesmaid and never the bride for Lucas Laville, as he has never been able to claw his way to the top step of the podium. To finish runner-up so many times, it's got to be absolutely crushing for a driver like Lucas Laville, and I'm sure he is going to be hoping that today is his day. Critically, he has only qualified in the Fast 9 shootout thrice throughout his Indy 500 career, in 2017, 2021, and 2022. Of course, that is, 2020 and 2021. That, of course, was up to 4 times, because he made it into the Fast 9 shootout this year as well, something that he failed to do last year, where he qualified 18th and rallied back to finish in 5th place spot. So Lucas Laville, definitely one of those drivers to keep an eye out for. I think right now he is not on the optimal strategy based on how he just came down pit road. But he gets a couple lucky cautions falling his way. Things could change.
And luck, stats and luck in IndyCar history says that if you keep this up, you will get a win. Of all the drivers with the most second-place finishes in IndyCar or in Indy 500 history, Bill Holland, Tom Sneva, Al Unser Sr., each one of them eventually won the race. So if you keep at it, eventually your number will come up and you will be called.
Mark Martin might want to work with you on that, but here's the whole
now
thing.
I'm talking IndyCar stuff. I don't care about those stock cars, nah.
Also, think of Laville's success in the Classic IndyCar Series as well. He's the leading all-time winner in drivers with over 100 starts. He's been here since the beginning with 109 starts total, not counting tonight. He's had 15 career victories. He's 5 short of Joshua Chin, who has the most at 63 as a car hits the wall. I believe that was Logan Simmons. That was a lap car coming off of turn 4. But for Laville, he's one of the best all-time Classic IndyCar Series drivers in history all time. So the resume that he's built for himself has spoken for himself as well. And all of that success in the Indy 500, guys, it really is just a matter of time. If you're able to finish that consistently, if you're able to put yourself in that position so many times, eventually the racing gods are going to come around on you and make you a winner at some point. Laville, though, has a bit of a mountain to climb, understanding that he is on a solo strategy alongside Henry Bennett and
right
Andrew
in front of
Wood,
him,
as there's trouble off turn 2. And that's Jamie Wilson.
And he has completely blown the motor on that thing, billowing smoke down the back straightaway. And he can't get to the inside either.
He's going to stay up against the wall.
He's got to get down quickly here when there's a gap. I would cut the grass on so you can just get onto that access road, because you don't want to be on the apex at turn 4 here. There he goes. I think he just blew the motor up.
He must be, they must be, okay, that's going to be one. You got to watch all the Team Chimera cars then, because they must have those intakes. They must have them blocked off a little bit more than everyone else, and that's what's making them faster. That's less drag down the straights, and we're at 79 degrees ambient, which isn't very good, which isn't that bad, and it's 124 the track temp. So I think they might be using some their intakes might be covered up a little bit more than everyone else's, and that makes them a little bit faster down the straights.
Look at those blinking lights on the racing wheel. That is the indicator that you're at the limit of whatever gear that you're in. A lot of drivers play around with 5th and 6th gear. Some of them like to downshift into corners, especially on long runs. You saw him pinned at 6th gear. That's the max you can go. He was riding it all the way to turn 1. And on these long straightaways, the engine can just take so much when you're cruising at about 225, 230 miles an hour. For Wilson's engine, he was riding that limiter until it just ripped away from him, and that engine is gone. Wilson's day over, 85 laps complete.
Now that's something you don't see often, Nolan, not even in IndyCar racing, in modern day IndyCar. Now back in the 80s and 70s, 80s and 90s, we would see engines grenade all the time. A field of 33, and halfway through the race, you have a third of the field gone. By the time you get to the end of the race, maybe you have a third of the field, maybe you have less that are running to complete the 500 miles. That engine expirations was a normal thing back in the day. Nowadays, they build the Honda engines and the Chevy engines so bulletproof that, there needs to be really a monumental failure of an individual part inside the engine for it to really grenade itself. Very rarely do they ever fail.
Of course, in stock car racing, the only time you usually see something like that is at super speedways like Daytona and Talladega, and only particularly when you're bump drafting the car in front of you so much that your water temp creeps well above 200 degrees Fahrenheit. And then, of course, just pops the motor at some point from there on out. But Indy cars, that's got to be a first. I think the only time I've seen a grenade like that is, well, when we somehow saw somebody money shift one of these cars earlier in the season.
Yeah, that happens a lot. That could happen more than you think. When you have paddle shifters, sequential shifters, but it only takes one little mistake. Something goes wrong, double shift by accident. That car goes into a gear it's not meant to be in, and then that engine just over limits itself, and it becomes a big time problem. So it's tough for Jamie Wilson, who's not going to be able to join the strategy alongside his teammates. Remember, he had been on the opposite strategy versus Andrew Wood and Henry Bennett. He had elected to be on a different side of the ball, and his day is going to be over. As Marshall Stanley, how about the move up here through the last several laps? Made that move on the biggest mover of the race so far, Matt Molnar. Stanley looking on Sebastian Kinder to be back in the top 5. He had led a couple laps early through this strategy, now looking to be back in the top 5.
No one actually saw in an IR18 IndyCar Series Oval Series race at Dover one time, the car grenade, just because they were in line for so long. One of the cars, second or third in line, ended up grenading, and luckily didn't take out a big because it was a bit of a pack race at Dover in the Indy cars, and luckily didn't take out a whole field of them. But I have seen it before. It has happened before. But you're right. It does happen more when you're slapping that paddle shifter and you grab 2 gears rather than 1. But it should have been no gear grabbing, at least in that situation with Jamie.
Yeah, and there was no gear grabbing, right? And I mean, you see all the fog now that's descended on the front straightaway. That is all from the smoke from the 87s. But and the motor just expired. So, well, the previously announced barbecue in the 87 has fallen to the conclusion. This race has just been called off as a result of the barbecue. the barbecue having now expired. And, boy, that was a bit tight there. Coming down to the turn numbers 3 and 4. Amon Lal tracking up towards the outside. Of course, Amon Lal just yesterday competing in the Velocity Online Racing IndyCar Series finale from the Phoenix Raceway.
He got himself a top 10 there. I guess there's not going to be any mosquito issues in 16th and Georgetown, at least in the virtual sense. Today it's, let's see what the weather is today. 53, there will be no mosquitoes.
Oh boy, hold on here. Oh, jeez, Marshall Stanley got close to taking out Kinder there.
Kinder slid right on up. Wow.
It just logged how hard these cars are to drive now. that you're so deep into this run. These drivers, 25, 26 laps. The Firehawks are going away. You're at the tail end of this stint. The grip is starting to fall. You're playing with the weight jacker, playing with the setup just a little bit more. And Stanley, hard to make an effort down the inside. And we also haven't mentioned all that energy that's put into the ovals. On iRacing, they've allowed the simulation to be that when you have so many cars running one line over and over and over again, once you're about 14, 15 laps deep into the run, it starts to slicken up. It grows really hot, so that means the grip starts to fall away. Caution flag will come out, though, in the middle of the green flag run.
Oh, hold on.
There's trouble off of turn
Johnny
4.
Garrett. Johnny Garrett, I don't know. I don't think he was part of it.
It was Rob
Barkenow
Barco.
has a meatball.
Trouble off turn 4.
So this is going to be the look at what happened here. Johnny Garrett was behind this incident. And this...
Barkenow loose off of 4 into the inside wall.
He's going to just break sideways just like we saw happen. And, oh, man! Careens into the inside safety barrier a la 2020 we saw that. And then fires back across the racetrack. And then here comes Johnny Garrett from behind. Don't tell me Garrett somehow manages to hit him.
No, I think he would took evasive action.
Yeah.
And, got a little squirrely down the front stretch. He was the slowest car I saw, but it was Barkenow. I don't think Garrett was actually involved with contact with Rob Barkenow. Loose off of turn 4. And just watch the car right off the exit, whoop, right to the inside wall.
Kind of like what happened to Jamie Woodall right earlier in this race. His car stepped out. It was a bit of a different situation because he was straighter in his line than Woodall was. That was nose first into the wall. This one was just that left side of the car going into the barrier. There's the onboard look. See, he's got so much input, and you're already full throttle. That car is just going to take one bit of a look around when those rear tires lose grip, and then you just start trailing further and further to the inside. You're going so fast and carrying so much energy. That car's going to be hard to unravel and get out of that situation. So right there for Barkenow, nothing he could do. Just try to get it back to the right. He just hip checked the car right into the barrier, and all that suspension damage will take him out of this race.
Nearly careened right into the pit attenuator as well. He was probably only a few feet away from missing that. Well, this is going to bring the entire field back down pit road.
Not everybody. Law's going to stay out to try to get a lap back.
Understandable. So the whole field comes down, and not anticipating too many dramas here under this, I think, the third or fourth caution flag here of the night. So the field is all in. They're going to go up on the jacks, and then drivers are going to be let down.
Oh,
a bit of a
I
close
think
call.
that is Andrew in the blue. Did Andrew in the blue? Yeah, Andrew in the blue missed his marks. And now the roll back, and look at all the spots he just lost.
Devastating pit stop there for Andrew Wood as he's going to drop all the way to the tail end. And, well, this race set to kick off once again, just shy of halfway. We'll give ourselves a step back and voice the rest when we return. It's more Green Flag Racing, the Indy 500 on Green Flag TV. Stay with us.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Green Flag TV as we are just about to go back to Green Flag Racing here after a hard crash that nearly saw a car strike the pit attenuator, much like we saw in the SRA Super Speedway Blitz here just a couple days ago. Well, the green flag set to come back out once again, and we are going to hightail it back down in towards turn number 1, and Tomas Mustonen getting a massive jump on the field.
This is that reset from the yellow flag that came out with Rob Barkano going into the inside wall off of turn 4 hard. This is that place for someone or somebody to make some kind of moves, and it looks like there's already some shuffling in the middle of the pack. Cameron Dance looking to the inside of Marshall Stanley. He's got it for 7th, entering turn 4.
Henry Bennett's tail gunner that he started this race with. He had 2 of them. He had Andrew Wood, he started on the front row with. A little bit further back was Jamie Wilson. Jamie out. Andrew Wood missed his marks on pit road and got separated from his teammate, and no longer does. Now, I don't think Henry Bennett really needs a tail gunner, to be honest with you, but he doesn't have anyone there that was watching his back like before, and now he's one-on-one against Cameron Dance. But he's in the draft with Seb Kinder and pulling away from Dance just a little bit.
Down in the turn number 1 as the whole field's still running strong. Ethan Hagen trying to see if he can mount a challenge on Matthias Strauss. This would be the battle for 3rd. Meanwhile, Logan Simmons has quickly run down the now defending champion Tomas Mustonen into turn 1, but so far not going for that move just yet. Wanted to play things patiently. Out of the 33 starters we had in this race, we are down to just 26 on the racetrack and only 24 still in the lead lap, just shy of halfway.
Indianapolis takes a toll on the drivers no matter who you are. So with the DNFs that we've seen, whether it be technical gremlins or whether it be just crashes on the racetrack, we've seen very little of it, thankfully. Just really hard to complete a race as long as this when it's such an endurance and a marathon. Carry your way through 500 grueling miles, most of them running under green so far in today's event. As Henry Bennett just slowly looks on Sebastian Kinder. You gotta think, what possible moves can be made here? Or is the idea just continue to save fuel? Don't really be on that opposite end of the strategy like you were in that first half, because we're approaching halfway in this Indianapolis 500 race, guys. It's going to get really interesting to see how the aggression turns up from that conservative mindset early on to just make it on strategy. It's going to be more about raw track position and how much you can gain in a very limited space of time.
You can, I think, 2 more stops. Make it. For that last stint, you need to do some fuel saving. So maybe to do some fuel saving now. The numbers I'm coming up with, if let's say you do 35 laps, that would get us into the 120s and then the 150s, and then it's going to be right there at the end with maybe a splash and go. But if you can save a little bit, you can maybe just do this in 2 more stops. Let me work my math one more time, but these guys are definitely now thinking of saving some fuel to maybe eliminate a stop now, a possible splash and go at the end.
Look at the field packed up here. Even on the initial jump when they were 3 wide, we didn't see these guys this close back together. This is the tightest front-running field that we have seen from the start of this race, and honestly, the tightest front-running field we've seen in general since the Chicagoland Speedway race about a month ago.
That's true. Even in that first run of the race, we had 6 cars deep in a single file line as close as this. Now we have more than 7. We've got 9 or so cars in this middle of the group. Cameron Dance, Matt Monar, you can kind of count them in the mix, although they're starting to flail away from everyone else. As here's Henry Bennett trying to look on Kinder inside turn 3. We've mentioned how difficult it is to make inside passes given how slick that inside line has become over the course of the run. You have a good look off of turn 4, but no draft, no momentum to make it happen, and you'll stay back in the line.
You know why they're so close together. I mean, they're not racing. They're saving fuel here. This is if Logan were to want to pass Thomas for whatever reason, he'd let him go because he wants to save fuel too. So he's dialed down a notch. The guy behind him's dialed down a notch. The guy behind him is dialed. So now everyone else is dialed down a notch from 1st to 10th, and no one's wanting to pass each other because they know they have about, I'm thinking in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 laps of fuel they need to save. So at this point, it's just making laps and getting to the next step.
Meanwhile, Lucas Santos leading the second pack, just about 2 seconds behind the main one. This one runs from 11th place back to around 18th to 20th with a couple of lap cars also in the mix. And these drivers have not been as patient as the contenders in front. Trying to save fuel, yes, but there's been a lot more movement around back here as well, especially as Ariel Guerra Jr. gets a little bit crossed up on the exit of turn 1.
It's a forced hand at this level of the race because you're 11th place here, 12th place with Guerra, 13th with God. All these guys are so far behind. That gap between Santos and Wood sits at about 2.2 seconds. If this race continues to go green, you think the distance is going to grow not only between those cars at the front, but it's going to exponentially grow for those drivers right here, 11, 12, back to the top 15, and even some of those guys at the back half of the top 20. All that distance is going to be there, which means that the level of track position you're able to gain in the late stages of the race, they're going to start to fall away. So you have to be a bit more aggressive naturally, because if you don't, you're just going to lose touch of the draft. You're going to lose contention with everybody else, and it's just going to become so hard to find any kind of advantage. There's a slow car off of turn 2, just finally getting back together. That's Bobby Love, I believe, on the straightaway that just got out of gravel there in turn 2 and got it picked up.
So math time. Everyone just pitted at lap 92. So let's just take 35 laps, just an average number. 92 plus 35 is 127. So somewhere between 120 and 130 is the next pit stop. Then if you go, let's say 127 to another 35, that's 162. So somewhere between 160 and 170 is the next pit stop. And then you add 35 to 62, that brings you to 197. And so that's 3 laps short if we're just doing 35 lap stints. So this is why no one's passing anything right here. Everyone's trying to hit a number now. This is still a fuel mileage race. And if someone can somehow eliminate that splash and go and maybe make a 36 stint for this stint and another 36 for the next one and another 30, that takes out that 3 laps at the end. Or if you can do a 37. Whoa, there's a close one.
And Lucas Santos just having a bit of a close shave there with Ariel Guerra Jr. That has stacked up the whole field here. Now Florian Gaud almost went for the attack on Zachary Wareham.
That group, though. That's really separated that group from the lead pack. They are behind that lead pack by about 3 seconds now.
Take a look.
Which is well outside of the draft envelope. So they got to work together now, and I don't know if they're willing to work together at this point. But there you see it's about a quarter straightaway lead.
Oh, man.
For that lead pack.
Guerra nearly getting squeezed into the wall there.
Mind you, Santos was defending that track position. He was in the lead of this group, 11th place on the racetrack like he is right now. That was Guerra trying to make a move. Santos was just holding up the defense. In that moment, you kind of pin him near the outside wall, and with all that dirty air, Guerra's like, no, I'm not going to keep going. I'm going to hit the wall, so he has to back up, stay in line, and then in turn just backed up everyone else. But Guerra, you made a good point. They're continuing to lose time. As much aggression as these guys have beneath them, all of that they're unleashing at this juncture of the race is only giving them worse situations, and it's going to be even worse now that Guerra's looking again. Pinpoint look to the inside on the front straightaway. That's for 11th on Santos. Once again, lost time, but he's got the spot.
These guys would look at their relative. I think I would go back and say, okay, Hoffman, LaVille, you two, get up here. You got the pace. Lead this pack, because they can work together on comms and help pull this group forward. But they're just back there being patient, saving fuel at this point. And right now, the lead 2 are racing, and now they're 4 seconds behind the lead pack. They're not closing the gap. They're not working together.
So Ariel Guerra Jr. continues to fight it out here. Zachary Wareham just behind the group, and he thought about looking at turn 1. Decides against it, he's going to back out. Oh, but he tries to get in 2, and that's not going to go the way he thought it would. He checks out the pack again. I don't know why he would attempt an overtake there in 2, but took an extremely shallow entry for just trying to take the corner normally.
And this is is akin to like NASCAR Super Speedway racing. You look at tracks like Talladega and Daytona, and you have a situation like this on strategy where there's a lead group and then there's a secondary group that's multiple seconds behind. The big attempt to get back and make up all that time comes from organization. It's a foundational organizational push to have everybody on the same playing field, on the same page, and not fighting as hard as this, because when you continue to go side by side, the drivers move out of line, there are big checkups, you're ultimately not gaining what you're trying to accomplish, so you just end up losing time, and you create an even bigger difference between yourself and those guys at the front. The big difference between Santos and all these guys behind is that they're wobbling all over the place. They're each trying to gain position on each other. Each little mistake creates a checkup that slows the drivers at the back of this group down. And then you look at the front running 6 or 7 cars, and they're all just running single file. They've got good distance to each other. None of them are checking up hard. They're not pushing the envelope on each other. It's that foundation of organization that has allowed them to carry this speed and maintain their level of dominance right now.
Hold on!
3 wide off of the corner. That was Guerra down the inside. Wareham nearly had a look, and the war is on off of turn 2.
Come on, guys. You got to work together at this point. I know you want position.
And yet again, near disaster. And once again, thought for a moment we were about to get the big one here. Take a look at this as Aguera tries to fight down the inside of Santos. And just like last time, Santos pinches him in. And oh my goodness, I mean, talk about getting a bit too close for comfort. They can't do this too much more.
No.
You keep racing like this, you're gonna cause a monumental wreck with how close packed together these guys are. You can even see some drivers in the back of the G Command started to back out a little bit because they're a bit worried about what's going on up front here.
It's like, why do I want to get involved with that? I'm just going to roll back and keep everything in front of me.
Santos is driving incredibly defensively here, Kenneth. And I know, like, it's tempting, right? But, I mean, sooner or later, you gotta just, like, expect that you gotta give the spot up. I mean, it's not like you're breaking away from anybody here.
Yeah, they're not. And you look at the telemetry, the evidence is going to speak for itself. They were about 2.6 seconds several laps ago. Now they're nearly 6 full seconds behind who's going to be 10th place Cameron Dance. So they have really hemorrhaged all of that time by just being aggressive. Santos, yeah, he can keep himself in track position's sake for 11th, but he's got to look at the time and tell himself, is this really worth it? Am I really going to keep this defense on just to keep losing even more time? Because once again, as long as this race stays green, to which maybe this pack will create a yellow flag as Florian Gaud looks back to the inside for 11th, you know, as long as we stay green, you know, you come down pit road, you come in and out, and you, barring any mistakes, barring any pit road speeding penalties or anything of the like, you're still going to be behind the 8 ball. You're not going to gain time unless you do something drastically different, or if a yellow falls in your favor when you're staying out in track position while the rest of the guys have come in. So you just have to look at the evidence. Look at what the time is telling you and then play accordingly. I just don't think that's happening right now behind the wheel of this 19 machine as he'll peek to the outside again in turn 3.
Gang, we're about 10-15 laps away from the next round of pit stops. That's how fast it's happening. But whoa, Wareham almost into the back of Ariel. Big run through the center of the corner. But now they let Florian just get out and lead this pack, which might not be a bad idea.
This is.
But they have hemorrhaged time now. 5.7 between Dance and Gaud, which is that lead pack. Now Dance is a little bit behind the lead pack. He's actually broken. The top 9 have kind of broken away from Dance a little bit. But Florian is 5.7 behind Dance.
And critically, you just saw Guerra trying to make another attack on Santos as he catches the wall of turn 3. Wareham checks into the back of him. They're able to hold it together. But Wareham now out of line. Now the 11 is driving aggressive because he's trying to link up with his teammate who's now 2 cars up the road. And Florian Gaud gets through, but Santos still driving defensively, not wanting to let anybody through.
I don't know if they think it's a lost cause to carry on to the front of the pack, but they're just starting to go at it now. The aggression is turned up tenfold. Here to the inside, Lucas Laville near contact with Wareham off of turn 2, and that's going to allow Andrea Giacometti in the number 38 machine to carry on. Make a move from the outside to turn 3. It's been unbelievable, guys, to watch all of this racing. They continue to get more and more aggressive. Andrew Aitken now makes the close-knit move. He's on the outside for 18th. And Lucas LaVille, one of the best Indy 500 drivers in this classic IndyCar series, loses maybe 5 or 6 positions in a matter of a lap and a half.
Eckert now to the inside of Santos. Santos washes up into the wall a little bit. But Eckert now on by. Move Eckert up to 12th. Santos back to 13th. Guerrera in 14th. As this group of hard racers is now starting to get spread out, which might be a good thing at this point.
Drivers like Lucas LaVille dropping backwards into the clutches of Bobby Love and co. While Ariel and Lucas continue to just dogfight here out of turn 4 down the front straightaway. It's like, guys, do they know they've... Oh, hold on, look out behind! What? Holy cow! Bobby Love with a massive step out and nearly driving face first into the pit attenuator at over 200 miles an hour.
Turn 4 has been the trouble spot all day long. Bobby Love getting caught out. And a wonderful save that was right in front of the 99 of Robert Grosser, so it could have been much worse than it actually was. Bobby Love with a whale of a save off turn 4. We stay green.
Take a ride on board.
I'm going to give a Tom Steva era pun here, but that's one kiss Love doesn't want to give.
Look at this. Oh my good Lord. That is incredible that he managed to hold that car back underneath him. Take another gander here at the 44 entry, and look at how far sideways this car kicks out. And this came out of nowhere, mind you.
Yeah, that was a snap loose on exit. Too much weight jacker probably. At least now he has a bit of a warning. He can dial it back. He can go to the roll bars if he wants to. Dial back the weight jacker. Probably something like that. I'd go to the roll bars. That'll be a little bit more of a major change versus a subtle weight jacker change. Got lucky with that one. And we would be under caution any other moment, but we're still under green flag at 118 laps now.
That's one of those moments, Kenneth, where even in the sim, right, you have that happen, you recover, and those hands are not going to stop quivering for at least another 5-10 laps or so. And you're going to be gripping that wheel extra tight, and I imagine you're going to be a little bit more tender coming out of that corner in particular.
That's a moment, Nolan, when your heart just sinks and you're seeing your life flash before your eyes, or your whole race. I mean, you've put in all this work, you've carried yourself alive in the event for so long, and then this car is facing the entry of pit road and that wall that was hit in 2020 in the Indianapolis 500, and you're thinking to yourself, oh boy, is this over? So you're holding on for dear life. You whip the car back to the right. Thankfully, Love was able to save it, but you cannot let it continue to do that because these tires continue to wear down. Once you have that snap over steer as large as Jamie Woodall did earlier in this race, it is unsavable. Thankfully, Bobby Love was right on the edge of that control and was able to carry it on with this green flag run.
Temp is up to 122. That's about what these guys face during the fixed Indy 500 in May. That's about what the track temperature is. So 122 degrees track temp at Indianapolis in a fixed setup race is pretty harrowing. I can only imagine what it's like when your setup starts to go south on you in an open setup race that we're in the conditions we're right now.
Matt Molnar fighting it out with Andrew Wood and Marshall Stanley. Was able to clear from Stanley, but that put him offline. Now Andrew Wood driving to the inside of turn 3, and Andrew Wood picking up the spot for the Powerslide Team Chimera crew. Good effort for Wood as he slots in to the number 7 spot. 80 laps to go. This time by at the line.
Remember, Andrew's trying to regain lost ground that he lost by missing his marks on pit road. So this is basically penalty distance for him that he needs to make back up.
You mentioned that urgency again with Lucas Santos, Ariel Guerra Jr., all those guys that were losing time fighting each other. You know, it's almost happening to Andrew Wood, Matt Molnar, Marshall Stanley. They're creating a trio, but they're losing touch of the last car in the main group, which is Henry Bennett running in position number 6. So Wood not only there to try and help his teammate in Henry Bennett, maybe create a level of compatibility that they had earlier on in this race, but more of it's just that urgency. Pick up the pace. Let's go. Chop, chop, or else we're going to lose out in the main group.
The draft envelope on these cars does not extend back as far as we see on the IR18. The IR18 draft envelope extends about a second and a half. These cars, 0.6 to a second, give or take, somewhere in there, 0.6 to a second. But the closer you are to that 0.6, the best you're going to get. So he is well outside of that window right now. He is right at about at second window, and he cannot let his teammate get up front of him any further. But if he can't keep up with his teammate, the best thing he needs to do at this point is do a little thinking of self-preservation. And it might just be, I'm going to hang on to this position until we get to the next round of pit stops, which we're not that far away. This is 31 laps for all this lead group right now. We anticipate about 35-ish. So about lap 127, 128, 129, 130, somewhere in there. We expect the next round of pit stops, and we're right on the doorstep of that.
Again, least of all, we get 2 green flag pit stops before this is all said and done. Maybe 3, but the idea is have 2 before the checkered flag comes out here in this Indianapolis 500-mile race. Thomas Musson and the driver locked up with the championship for the 2025 Classic Indycar Series leads this race by just a car length over Logan Simmons. Matthias Strauss has been hanging around in the top 3 for the entire day, and Ethan Egan, the 2023 winner of this race, finished 8th here last year after starting in the P5 position, is in 4th. Sebastian Kinder has maintained in 5th place. Henry Bennett is that last car in the main group as far as connection is concerned, running in 6th place, and Andrew Wood in 7th. Matt Monar, Marshall Stanley, and Cameron Dance currently in the top 10. For Logan Simmons, Gary, I mean, this is going to be a moment of control, right? You're looking at Musson, and you've been working together with him all race long. At what time does the wick turn and you look to yourself more so about beating this guy on track position versus having to worry about the pit stops that are left?
He seems to be very patient exactly where he is. Plus he has 3 rear gunners kind of defending him right now. And if I don't think this team has set team orders to say, okay, Logan, you're going to be our preferred driver, this thing. But as we get closer to the 200th lap, those rules are going to go out the window, and his rear gunners of Strauss and Egan and Kinder are probably going to stop being friends, and they're going to start thinking, you know, I want this Indy 500 win as well. But I don't think the racing is really going to pick up until we get to that final stint. At this point, there's no reason for the racing to get any spicy up front for Logan. Logan just stays right in the track, the tire tracks of Mustanen, and Mustanen's going to have to come to pit road before everyone else.
75 laps still to go for racing action here this afternoon as Mustanen and Simmons remain 1-2. They are starting to actually build out a bit of a gap here on 3rd place on back, and this could be a sign that this could end up being a 2-horse race for too long, because Strauss and Egan, they've dropped back. We're looking at over half a second now from the top 2.
Yeah, but at this point, when you're 3rd, 4th, 5th place, you can kind of afford to give leeway to those front running too, because you understand the pit road stops are going to come very, very soon. You're already at the edge of the window, so you understand that maybe you go 2 or 3 laps, or you maintain a gap of about 4 to 5 tenths of a second. It's not going to be a killer in any sense, even if, you know, maybe you stay out the extra lap or something else happens. The idea is you can let back a little bit and let them pull away, have their fun, but not to let them go too outright. It's kind of like having a fishing rod, right? You don't want it to be so far out that you lose control of it. You just want it to be close enough to where you can reel it back in when the moment comes. There are drivers on pit road. It's going to start. Bobby Love has entered the pit lane, and another driver as well. That's Lucas Santos. He was running as high as 11th in this run. He'll come in. 2 cars on pit road this time.
Just doing my math right here. And if these guys can make it, the leaders that are on the racetrack right now, if they can make it to about lap 130 and then repeat those stints for one, or at least repeat that for one more pit cycle, then they should get home without that splash at the end. So they are still trying to save a little bit more fuel out here. If they can do 2 more laps, that gets them into the 130 neighborhood. That will get them to 165-ish, and that will get them home at 165 and beyond.
They didn't make it, though.
And here comes everybody.
Oh my goodness!
Careful.
They got it. They got it all locked down. But it's nerve-wracking, right? It's almost as nerve-wracking as watching Daytona pit stops or Talladega pit stops.
Let me explain. These
Oh,
cars,
hold on.
you see them.
Sorry, someone's just hit the pit wall back there. I think that's Andrew Aiken. It is.
Such a tough scenario for Andrew Aiken. And that tire is gone. On the tether, car's going to hit pit lane. It's going to hit the box. But that day may be over for Aiken there, who had trouble coming in. Once again, you're going 209 miles an hour, maybe more than that, coming off of turn 4, and you have to limit it to the pit road speed limit.
Right.
And you're just hard on the brakes. You want to get as much time as you can out of that sequence that you're on the brakes and slowing down once you get to that pit road speed limiter. We almost saw with Andrew Wood, right? Almost got sideways. He carried on with the race car for Aiken. Rear end just stepped out and he goes hard into the wall.
Yeah, he's retired. And what I was getting ready to with my thought there is that when we see these cars on road courses, right? Underneath these tires on road courses is a different type of brake for these cars altogether. It's more of a road course configuration. It's a bigger brake disc. And on ovals, especially on a super speedway, it's a very small and very narrow brake disc. So the stopping power on ovals is a lot less than what we would have on a road course. So when you have all these cars that are trying to get up to that cone and slow down to the last possible second, they don't have this. They don't necessarily have all that stopping power that they have on road courses installed in these cars right now. And so that's where we often see the incidents happen. And that's exactly what we saw happen with Aiken there, where the maybe not enough brake bias involved here, where maybe he had too much up front, not enough in the back. Those front brakes grabbed, and then all of a sudden turns the car into the inside wall. So you got to be very careful of these green flag pit stops because you don't have the same stopping power in these cars as they normally would have on a road course.
And you also saw a relatively close shave for Matt Molnar on the exit of pit road there. And they were 3 wide on the way out. They actually made a bit of side-to-side contact and almost pushed Molnar into the grass. They were able to sort it out, but again, it's one of those games, right? You can probably get away with it once, but you don't want to be gambling on that more than once. So some miscommunication from drivers out of pit road. We got 70 to go, and here goes Henry Bennett looking to the inside of Matthias Strauss, going for a top 5 spot after he started this race on pole position. But Bennett not going to be able to complete the pass because he's got Matt Molnar helping out Strauss up top.
It was a bit of an awkward entry into turn 4 just to get to the inside of Strauss. I mean, he had it there. Strauss had been half blocking, so he was pushing Henry Bennett so far down low on the speedway. I mean, you can't carry that much speed on the accelerator or else that right front tire is going to go away. And on cold tires, when the car is still trying to heat up the Firestone Firehawks, last thing you want to do is put so much load on it that creates an issue. So Bennett just having to whoa up there. Matt Molnar just giving him some room, but also potentially looking at the pass. It was just all for naught, and Bennett holds on to 6th place.
Shallow entry, deep exit, and when you get a shallow entry here, you miss the marks that you've been hitting all race long, and then you're going to have that deep exit where you're going to exit right out next to the wall in a place that you're not used to. So did a good job of keeping everything underneath him. But Bennett, our pole center now, in 6th spot. But again, another shout out to Matt the Hammer Molnar, man. Matt is 19 spots better. Actually 18 spots better in position 7. But Marshall Stanley, let's not forget him, up 24 spots. And he is in position 4. He started in the 28th position. And I will go back and I will say that there have been 2 winners of the Indy 500. That's the farthest back that they have ever won the Indy 500, is 28th starting position. That's Ray Haroon. And that is also the very Louis Meyer, when he took the very first sip of milk, when he finished the 500 starting from 28th, when he won the 500. So it has happened before in history. It happened a long time ago, but it can still happen. And Marshall Stanley has got himself in prime position here, that we're getting to the last 50 laps of this race, that he might be able to pull that number off.
Problem
it's happened here before. The driver in 2021 that won this race started 24th, so never say never, guys, in a race like this.
Well, the problem is he's got to catch up to the front runners first, and right now they're over a second back, and you just saw Matthias Strauss go for the attack here in the middle of turn 4, which put Stanley offline. It cost him a couple tenths of a second, and they're still going to be too wide, not just through 1, but through 2 as well. Stanley trying to cover him off,
here we go.
oh boy, nearly ripping his own left rear to shreds off the front wing of Strauss. He holds it together, and Henry Bennett driving up and around the outside, trying to pick off Strauss. I'm sure Stanley's not complaining, because that's going to give him some much-needed breathing room.
I don't think you want to be in this position at all if you're Henry Bennett. You do not want to be on the outside of 3 wide, let alone 2 wide, as close as that was with Matthias Strauss. He makes the pass complete, so that's the mission there, looking on Marshall Stanley next, but scares all across the board for guys like Matt Monar and even Andrew Wood and Sebastian Kinder, those guys at the very back of this line, mostly Andrew Wood, who's just tailing on in this group. Real close between them, but back single file. I'm sure that's what at least most of them want to see. They don't want to see another yellow.
Well, as weird as this might sound, I'm going to say that move by Strauss was a very high risk, but also high reward move, because it was a win either way. Either he gets those 2 positions, or he slows them up enough to allow his teammates in second and third that's behind our leader to kind of move away and distance themselves from this pack. So that's 2 less cars, or 3 less cars really, that his teammates have to worry about fighting for positions. They can start focusing in now on double teaming on the leader.
You know, we talk a lot about all the close calls that we've seen so far tonight. This has been a remarkably clean race, though. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the only cautions we've seen have been from self-spins.
I'm knocking on wood. I don't want you to jinx it, Nolan.
I was just about to say
but you're
that.
right. You're right. This has been remarkably, I mean, the racecraft of all these racers, 33, have been very, very remarkable.
The largest crash we've seen today involved 2 cars. That's the largest crash we've seen. Everything else has been a 1-car incident, whether it be a slide by their own lonesome. Usually a lot of it hasn't been affected by external factors like another car. So you're right. The cleanliness in this race has been to the top level. And it's been great to see how these drivers have elevated that level of success, especially those at the front. And I think since they understand that the event has gone more into the strategic side, they're willing to keep it a lot more clean, just because it's not just raw track position in a 25-lap stint. As Mustonen and Simmons and Egan and company, they make their way around one of the lap cars. That's just going to give way. That's Eamon Law, who's currently just about 2 laps down, running in 24th place. But solid, clean move around, and the leaders just continue to remain single file right in their own zone, waiting for the final pit stop to approach them.
And you know, because this race has been so clean, we've been making great time so far today. I mean, you know, we talked about some of the other races we've had here. The Zero Torque Racing League race here ran 2 hours and 22 minutes for 200 miles. The Super Speedway Blitz race here ran over 2 hours for the same distance, 200 miles. You know, we're bordering on 400 miles now. We haven't even hit the, oh, there we go, and a big crash in turn 4. Massive pileup on the front straightaway. And that is a tremendous impact. Debris everywhere, cars everywhere. 5 cars, and it's the big one out of turn 4.
And involved in that is Henry Bennett. He gets a hit. Eamon Law was also in it. Matthias Strauss. So several heavy hitters taken out of this 8th annual Indy 500.
That could.
Oh, and it's a Mon Law, the slower car in line. They just got a good run, and Marshall could not get back out of the run fast enough, nudges Amon Law out of the way, who was down 3 laps, and that brought around everybody. And when you're that fast and you're that close, the closing rates on these cars is instantaneous, and for many of those drivers, there was nothing saving that for them. Nothing.
That is one of the most violent crashes I have ever seen in my life in an Indycar. I mean, the amount of vicious impacts. Marshall Stanley nearly flipped up into the catchers. He was all 4 wheels off the ground.
I mean, this is when you're trying to get around a lap car, and you know how much faster you are compared to the other. And Stanley just possibly thought he could stay right on the rear wing of Law's machine without making contact, but he just washes up the hill, touches the back end of the machine, and Law goes sideways. And when you have so many of those cars single file within at least a car length or two of each other, there's no escape at Indianapolis. And Henry Bennett, the pole sitter of this race, searching for another CIS Indy 500 win. It's going to be gone in a moment's notice. And Marshall Stanley would put on the run of a lifetime, had gained so many spots since the drop of the green, started 28th. He was plus 24. Now he's going to be in the back. There's another look from Henry Bennett. Pole sitter.
Nowhere to
That's
go.
all the accolade he's going to get tonight. Race is over.
Go to Seb Kinder's in car.
Bennett spun all the way down into pit road, and I think I know what you're looking at. I did see one driver just barely manage to escape through this. Sebastian Kinder now up at a 5th place, and he was behind the mess. Just sees complete carnage. And
every car involved in that incident was in front of him. Every single one of them.
that is some great driving from Kinder to get through that unscathed. And Kenneth, take a look at this one here again. Watch this 25 car here. He's going to leap up, and you're going to watch as all 4 wheels right there hook off the ground. And that car easily could have taken flight right into the catchments. He's lucky that physics brought that thing back down on the ground.
That's scary when those 2 wheels come up off of the air and it just launches up and you have no control over what's going to happen next. You're just a passenger at that point. And then the ricochet down to the inside. Matthias Strauss, Henry Bennett with a hard hit to the inside wall and just ricocheting back up the speedway, carrying all those other cars with him. And then just in comes Sebastian Kinder, very casual, just sneaking on by all those incidents, having all those cars spinning around him. Wonderful avoidance from Kinder, but those are at least 4 to 5 big names that we could have called to the win today. Now all of a sudden out with no real chance to get back into the game.
That was kind of the same spot on the racetrack, and like at the finish of the 96 500, where Guerrero, Salazar, and Zampedri all got in a big wreck there. Very, very similar as well, right off the exit of 4, and definitely involved some airborne cars there. But that took out a lot of the big players. But the key thing here is nobody's coming to pit road, so everyone's going to go and run to their last stop because everyone knows now they just got one stop to do.
Well, you say everyone comes down pit road. The top 10 have stayed out.
Yeah, they know that they need to get through this run and get to their last stop, and then they're done. Those that stopped, I don't think are going to make it. They need to do another stop.
Oh, for sure they will. The problem that I might have with this, I mean, you're looking, what, probably still 38 to go when you come down if you're these guys stayed out? Can you make it that far?
About 165, lap 165, and then you would use that as your final stop. Anything north of 165 it's just in safer and safer zone for him.
Matthias Strauss, I know, is going to be incredibly frustrated with that incident. I'm sure he's already expressed as such. He's one of the drivers, I think, that got collected. He got collected in yesterday's race as well, in the VOR finale as well during a crash. Was one of many cars that saw only 8 finish that race. And, man, I mean, talk about a bad weekend. And he was mentioned that in VOR, right? He's like, just one race. That's all I asked for. And DNF after DNF after DNF. Strauss definitely going to be the driver that feels this one the most. Mustanen going to be taking us back to the green flag. 58 laps to go after by far the biggest crash we've had of the night. Oh, hold on.
Tank slapper.
Yeah.
Tank slapper, Cameron Dance into the wall.
And we have one car hop up over the rear end of another, but it looks like they're able to keep him more or less underneath them as we get clear to turn 1.
And that's what happens. We're trying to come up to, we're trying to come up to speed with worn tires at this point too, and I think that's part of the problem, what we just saw there.
There is Cameron Dance, one of the drivers that kind of got a little bit crossed up there on that start. And then deeper in the field, Florian Gao battling out with Ariel Guerra Jr., although he's got Vortex Sim Racing hot on his heels, and these are drivers behind him that are on fresh rubber. So he's got to be a little bit careful here, and so do the drivers that are trying to overtake him, right? You got to be aware of the pace differentials that are going to be on the cars in front of you.
The battle with Lucas right here. Laville and Santos going at it with each other in turn 1. And Florian Gao just leading that group, hoping that it does not extend to him. Robert Grosser, who's been battling somewhat of an ill-handling race car all day long, has sort of got a fight in the top 15. Now here comes Laville looking to the inside of Gao. That's going to be for top 10 in turn 3.
Well, figure the guy that has the best finishing record here now. We're almost 50 laps to go, and he is now inside the top 10. You can set your watch to it.
One of the Vortex cars striking the outside wall out of turn 4. Now here we go. 3 wide down the front straightaway. Santos up to the top. Grosser backs out from the middle, and Andrea Giacometti says thank you very much, although he is laps down. Sorry, that's Christian McCrelly. That's fired through the middle. Also for the North Sim Racing team.
He's not got a shout out at all today. Good on him. He's now borderline in the top 10. He's up 20 or 19 spots.
A good drive from McCrelly, one of the drivers that, of course, did not compete in the main season here. He is, well, just one of those drivers here that comes in hot to this one. With his only race of the season is going to be here in the Indy 500.
And there have been drivers that have been Indy-only drivers before in the history of IndyCar racing that have won Indy. The last one being Helio Castroneves when he won in 2021, his 4th Indy 500. The one before that in 2011. When Dan Weldon won his 2nd Indy 500. So that does happen occasionally. You might see it again, actually, with Ryan Hunter-Reay driving for McLaren in 2026.
Oh, boy, and Kenneth, I mean, these guys back here clearly not fazed by the massive crash that we just saw out of turn 4. As this time, the real Giacometti takes the inside with Bobby Love, and they're both going to clear around the inside of Robert Grosser.
And that was all because Robert Grosser got the near outside wall there in turn 4. Car just understeered, went up to the outside wall, had to roll it back, and then all of a sudden came Love, Giacometti, and all these other drivers, Jan Hoffman, and even Randy Shoemake, some drivers in 17th and 18th looking to make some moves. There's Jan Borluck from Giacometti. Again, one mistake from all of the handling situations we've seen today. It's been a whirlwind of drivers that have snapped loose, some that have carried up the hill so many times and created problems for the right front tire. It's getting good inside the top 15, understanding still we've got one pit stop to go and they're giving it their all.
Oh, did you just call him the real Giacometti? That might be actually a good nickname. Track temperature has come down, though. It's not on the 120s now. It's in the 114. So that's going to help on these older tires, those that stayed out longer.
Yes, sir. It sure will. The weather today has not been kind to Firestone tires out there, and I'm sure a lot of drivers have been feeling that pressure, but they've been doing a good job to weather the storms here. Meanwhile, Andrew Wood ducking around the outside of Ethan Agan. As here comes Giacometti on the inside of Florian Gao, and Andrea Giacometti is through. Meanwhile, Santos fighting with McCrelly down to the turn 1.
McCrelly holding on. Look at that defense there off of turn 1. As they're still trying to make a move. Lucas Santos just hitting him off from the outside of turn 2, making sure he doesn't have as much space to fill that outside room.
Wiggle, wiggle.
The draft is going to be there, and here comes Bobby Love to the inside in turn 3.
Oh! Almost ran out of room there between Love and Christian.
Bobby Love maintaining some strong ground here, although he is right now caught, not clear. And Gowd going to be giving him problems around the outside, and he's forced to lift out as Florian Gowd, Christian McCrelly absolutely rips the outside. The drive around him, stellar job there from McCrelly.
All about defense, especially at this juncture of the race, when you want to hold on to as much track position as you can, and you want to separate yourself from the rest of this pack, although it's going to get harder now that everyone's going to be much more aggressive, understanding this is the final leg of the race. mentally, you're going to be all out, just looking for whatever you can gain. Giacometti and Bobby Love have stepped up the intensity very much at this juncture of the event. But, I mean, still time to go, and I think they're just looking to plan their move right. It maybe takes a couple laps in the dirty air and all the drab to then find your way right behind another race car and then strike the move down to the inside or outside off of these straightaways. So every failed attempt is maybe 2 or 3 laps of reset time that they have to get back into it, as there's a potential pass right in front of them, or right behind them rather. Florian Gaud and Robert Groscher going at it for 15th place in turn 3.
And meanwhile, for the lead as well, Mustinen continuing to hold on for the time being up front. Lucas Laville mounting an offense on Zach Wareham for the number 8 spot, as he's going to drive to the inside and try to pick off Wareham through 1.
Dirty air of the car in front of him. That's what stalled that run. You got dirty air from Eckert. Eckert was riding low. Lavelle only could go low. Now he's going to try it again. He's going to get the same thing, but I think he's going to be clear enough of Wareham there, and he gets the position that time.
Andrew Wood maintaining the run so far in second, but here comes Logan Simmons driving to the inside for the number 2 spot. And Simmons, can he get clear in a turn 2? Yes, he does. Here comes Ethan Hagan trying to jump Wood for 3rd, wanting to link up with his teammate, but it's not going to work.
Yeah, you would have to slow up so much in that situation where Wood is carrying up the outside, and he's just avoiding the outside retaining wall, so he has to maybe let off the gas a lot more. And Ethan Hagan just says, I don't want to slow down and match your speed. I want to carry my momentum while still maintaining my position. So he moves to the inside. A smart move by Hagan to hold on. Instead of forcing the issue on Wood in turn 2, he just slowly backed out, but let the momentum carry itself through so they can all stay connected first through 4th. And they have let Sebastian Kinder go. He's in the top 5, leading this secondary group of cars with Cameron Dance. And then all of the action with Laville, Eckert, and even Zach Wareham inside this top 10. And it's all coming down to that final pit stop. Now what's going to happen there? Wareham wiggled to the outside. Now going to have some fire behind. Here comes Guerra Jr. to the inside.
And Lucas needs a little bit of cooperation from the guys behind. And I think he can probably work with Eckert. These guys are both veterans of this series, and they can try to run down that group in front of them, but they are 2 seconds behind Dance. Dance is about 7/10 behind Kinder. Kinder 8/10 behind Wood, and that first 3 altogether on the racetrack. That first 4 altogether on the racetrack. So a little bit of cooperation needs to happen here, but we're running out of time. We're coming up to the 400-mile mark here very shortly. And after that, the gloves come off, I say.
Yeah, absolutely. The gloves not far from coming off. I mean, heck, I would argue the gloves have already been off for a few of these drivers. Particularly the deeper in the field you get, the more off the gloves have been, as drivers like Bobby Love and Lucas Santos have long chucked them aside. Love trying to fire to the inside of Giacometti here into turn 1, but again, dirty air forcing him to back out.
Oh, Santos into the wall, into the short chute. And that's going to allow McCrelly on by.
Now the question is, has that dealt a blow to the chassis of that number 19? It looks like he may have gotten away with one there. We saw that a few times throughout bump day where drivers would scrape that wall. It wouldn't be too badly bent up, but again, that wall, it can be unpredictable.
Just a little kiss, but riding on the thin line of danger. But Santos still in the mix of it. How about Giacometti? How much speed this driver has gained over the last few laps? 9 spots gained since the drop of the green here at Indianapolis. And slowly but surely in this final run, that car has come to life. It looks a lot more composed than several of the other machines that are right in front of Giacometti here. So over the last stint, I mean, this 38 car has been on rails, gaining draft there on Santos, hitting a move potentially in the final half of the Speedway.
McCrelly and Santos continue to run 11th and 12th, mirroring what we're seeing with Mustanen and Simmons for 1 and 2, about 7 seconds up the road. Nobody in the front pack looking to battle it out. All these drivers back here, Gary, they're just trying to play it safe.
Yeah, hitting the next number is what they need to do. We're just on the south side of 160 laps now. And we're forecasting 62, 63, 64, 65, somewhere there for final stops. So these guys up front, actually all up and down, I would say the top 6 are definitely thinking of final stops here. And the problem is they can't short stop this. They gotta get a full run out of this.
Oh, hold on! Multiple cars around. McCrelly spins into pit road. Bobby Love collected as well, and hold on! Oh my goodness me! And how nobody hit him as he spun across the racetrack, I don't know, but we had a car just go airborne on the front stretch.
And it was all from McCrelly, who got understeery off of turn 4 and then carried right into Bobby Love and Robert Groscher, who were carrying up on that machine. So look at how high this McCrelly car is. That is, what, 3-4 lanes off the main racing line in turn 4, and then carries nearly off the wall, tries to evade contact with the barrier, and then up and over goes Bobby Love.
Oh, no.
Robert Groscher just barely misses it, and they go hard into the pit road wall.
Oh, boy.
And Bobby Love just sailing back on the racetrack as McCrelly spins to the inside.
We got black flags out there too.
Jeez.
Robert Groscher has a black flag. He might have had to escape the pit road. I think Bobby Love got the black flag because he flew in the pit road. We got McCrelly with the meatball. We have, that's...
Oh, my God.
A lot of days are done now for these drivers, but, okay. Now it's off the table. We're coming for final stop. This is it.
And Bobby Love careened right into the pit attenuator at well above 250 kilometers an hour. This is on board the Franz Josef Sturm. Can you get much closer than that? From Santos, who was just in front of him. Or sorry, from Florian Gaud. Also had to make a rapid course correction to the inside. And then this is what Florian, this is what Chris McCrelly saw.
Talk about heart-skipping moments there. That is heart-skipping for sure when you have to evade a car that quickly, and right there, nowhere. And McCrelly can go to get away from that. I mean, just evading the outside wall, and then there's just contact.
Yeah, I think there was netcode contact. You go back and look at Love. I don't think actually Love touched him, but it was close enough that the specter of netcode on these cars especially hangs over every single driver. And, that's what gets it. But final stops now. I don't think we're going to see another one. This is it for everybody. Coming to pit road. Hit your marks. You can't make a mistake. You can't lose any positions. Come in, get your service done, leave, no penalties.
Johnny Garrett staying out.
Okay, well, we'll crunch the numbers here.
Garrett, of course,
Garrett is 3 laps down, so he'll try.
Garrett's down, so that's not going to matter.
Get wave arounds and just stay out on the racetrack. Everyone else, though, coming in, guys, this is going to be the money stop. This is right on the edge of the window. 46 laps to go. It's going to be super close. You can imagine everyone saving when they come back out. And it's a perfect pit stop for all of those at the front. Really no changes inside the top 5.
None.
We'll take
one for everybody that's going to be third, fourth, fifth, sixth on back on this restart. It's going to be imperative on their part to get a good restart and stay with this lead draft. Because if they get separated from this lead draft and there's no more cautions, there is no more savior for them to pull themselves up to the front. They need to do a good restart here and stay within the lead draft. And if they don't, it could be day over, and we still have a little less than 100 miles to go now.
And looking at that one again, you can tell them that McCrelly definitely was a victim of netcode there on that one. And then, of course, Bobby Love in the middle of blinking out, which probably, honestly, is what led to the netcode, right? Was his connection was starting to drop here for a moment. And you saw right there how he rebounds back across the racetrack. And, again, with how he fired across the racetrack, not just across, but backwards, well, because that car got shot back. I mean, here, let's do this. You take a look in the air here for just a moment, and look at how far back he actually is to the attenuator. That is almost identical to where we saw a stock truck end up in the Super Speedway Blitz race here from a week ago.
It's a little odd. Usually you see contact with that pit road attenuator. Usually it's forward momentum that's going to carry you back onto the front straightaway, but just maybe a couple 100 yards up the road. You usually don't see it spit you backwards on the racetrack. So a bit of an odd situation there for Love, but give credit to all those drivers behind who had to make that split-second decision to veer around that spinning car. I mean, that was perpendicular to the racing surface. So that's as T-bone can get if you make contact with the spinning Love car. So thankfully, all those drivers behind had enough time to react, and in the time that they did have to react, they used it well. They seized the opportunity to get around without adding any additional damage to themselves.
Groscher's got a black flag.
Yeah, I think he had to escape the pit road. I think that might would have got him the black flag.
Oh, yeah, true.
The attenuator crash that comes to mind, I know we talked about Spencer Pigot from 2020. I famously remember the Kevin Kogan incident from '89 where he came into the pits, and basically we're looking at iRacing physics here. If a car in reality hits that attenuator in one of these Indy cars, it's going to split it in half. And that's more along the lines of what we saw happen to Kevin Kogan in '89. Now, lots of improvements to the racetrack have been made then, but even the incident by Spencer Pigot in 2020 was pretty catastrophic to the point that they couldn't repair the attenuator and they couldn't clear the car and everything in the 6 laps or so remaining in that race, and that's how Sato got the win there under caution. So we are going to go green here at lap 162, coming to 163, I believe, and we are right on the edge of making this with no more stops.
33 cars entered this race. 18 remain on track, 17 of which are on the lead lap. We have lost half the field, a good chunk of which was just in the last 30 laps. Green flag is back in the air. Robert Groscher immediately ducking into pit road, wanted to get that black flag served ASAP, and hoping here, Kenneth, that he can get that black flag served and back onto the racetrack in time for another yellow to come out and save his race.
Yeah, I'm surprised that race control didn't give him any clearance of the black flag for having to evade the accident. Usually you see race control give a bit more leeway to those situations because he didn't do it intentionally to create sort of any unfair advantage. It was just to stay out of the trouble that was happening right in front without any other real estate to occupy. So we'll keep an eye on Grosser, see if there's any update there in the final stint of this race. But as for everyone else, this is crunch time. You're right on the window, so you're teetering on the edge of saving as much as you can and then just pushing until the end. There's going to be a breakover point, guys, to where if we don't have another yellow flag nor another round of green flag stops, everyone's going to save as much as they can, and then when they're at the magic number, it's go, 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 and nothing's going to hold them back.
Mustanen looking at Juan Pablo Montoya level in 2000 of dominance of this race. He's led 110 laps today. 110 laps.
Compare that to drivers like Andrew Wood that have only led 9 in this one. Cameron Dance has only led 2. LaVille has led 1. I mean, it is a pretty whopping number. The second...
LaVille, purple lap.
Yeah, well, in the draft. But the driver that's led the second most amount of laps today, 41. And that was, of course, set by Henry Bennett, who is no longer a factor in racing action today.
Right. And to think, Thomas Mustonen, in his second ever Classic IndyCar Series Indianapolis 500 start. His first start here was last year in November when he finished 7th, started in 3rd. That's all of the experience he has in this level of racing with this league. So to think not only a championship driver this season, winning so many races on the road courses, but to perform as dominantly as he's had today, it is just impressive to see that only a 2-time effort could lead to his first ever Indy 500 win in this league. Just unbelievable if he can hold on.
Jacques Villeneuve won in his second start, and he made it really hard. He made it a 5:05 instead of a 500. He had to come from 2 laps down. So wherever you get that experience, it pays off. And Mustanen, but I really don't think at this point, though. I'm watching Logan, I'm watching Ethan, and for the last 2 stints, I don't think Logan has raced Thomas extremely hard. He's just been kind of behind him in his tire tracks the entire time. I'm just wondering when, we've talked about the gloves coming off, and the gloves might have come off a little bit further back for some of these drivers, but Logan and Ethan have been extraordinarily patient. They've just been following, clicking off laps. At one point, one of these guys is going to have to come out and race here, and if that's the only way that they're going to prevent. I don't really see them following Mustanen all the way to lap 200. The gloves are going to come off at some point.
But when they do, boy, Mustanen is going to put up one heck of a fight. We saw him put up a monumental battle at Chicago, and we saw him put up a monumental battle at the Auto Club Speedway, as well as, oh boy, got a bit of a pack picking up here. There's a reason why Mustanen, though, right, has been able to take 2 Grand Slams in a row this season on road courses. He's a stellar driver no matter what track you put him on, and he is showing that here today, but we've got a lot of side-by-side here, Kenneth, deeper in the field.
And again, in IndyCar racing, it's that thing of, can you be good at either discipline? Can you also replicate the dominant performances on road courses that you can on ovals, and vice versa? And Mustanen has been able to do both. He's been good on the ovals. He's been dominant on the road courses. If you can be that good of a double threat throughout a whole season, you're going to be a champion like Mustanen is for 2025, and you could win a race like this Indianapolis 500-mile event. So he's going to hold on for right now, but it is getting a bit hairy right behind. We saw Wareham, Florian Gaud going at it for 11th and 12th on the racetrack. Again, this is right on the edge of the window, but everyone understands you have to be aggressive. There's no other way around it. If you're going to give yourself at least a top 15 or a top 10 run, you got to give it all that you've got, do whatever you can to gain any amount of advantage, especially here between Gaud and Wareham, where they're so far behind Adam Eckert for top 10.
That was a while ago. Michael Schumacher said that he would not race in the Indy 500. Daniel Ricciardo actually said he was too scared to race in the Indy 500. And it's interesting because you have 2 bona fide Grand Prix winners at the Formula One World Championship level that say that they will not go to oval racing. But traditionally, road racers have done extremely well at this racetrack. And I don't see why that would change for either one of those drivers if they were to ever come to Indianapolis. Of course, that time has passed for Michael Schumacher. Maybe we will see his son. But traditionally, I mean, you don't have to look any further than Mario Andretti. You don't have to look any further than Emerson Fittipaldi. You don't have to look any further than Alex Palou, who got his first oval win here at Indianapolis. Just because that you're good on the road courses doesn't mean you're not going to be bad on an oval. Indianapolis seems to fit both disciplines pretty well, and I just think that's the nature of the race course, the way we're looking at these flat, sweeping corners.
Well, at the same time, I don't blame drivers for being too scared to run, right? You couldn't pay me to even be a passenger in one of these cars around here. That would be insane. I mean, heck, Mike Conway, right, 2010, flew into the catch fence on the final lap of the 2010 Indy 500, refused to race on an oval again after that day. I don't blame him for that. I mean, it's got to be terrifying running around here. It's one of those things where you got to just block it all out, and it's got to be something that is borderline superhuman to be able to do in the real world. I mean,
part of that's the reason why they have rookie orientation.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if you're a veteran. Like Juan Pablo Montoya, when he came here in 2000, he was already a bona fide kart series champion and multiple race winner at the kart level, but they still made him go through rookie orientation. And same thing, Fernando Alonso had to go through rookie orientation. Everybody has to go through rookie orientation. If you don't pass rookie orientation, you're never ever going to get a chance to get to practice in the car otherwise. So it's not like they throw the drivers into these cars and say, okay, go turn left and try not to kill yourself. You're going to go through a step-up program to get yourself up to speed in a controlled manner before getting yourself out there and expected to go 230 miles an hour.
Similar situation.
Racing is a tiring sport.
Sorry, similar situation. Oh, go ahead. Just go ahead.
Go ahead, Nolan. My bad.
Okay.
My bad.
Well, I was going to say just a similar situation to Max Verstappen being listed as a rookie at the Nürburgring earlier this year.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. And, look at racing as an exhausting sport. It's tiring to go at it for several hours behind the wheel of a race car where, in these Indy cars, maybe you get a bit more air. These are open cockpits, at least in the IR05 era, but you've got the halo cockpits in the IR18, NASCAR Cup Series car, an Australian supercar, literally anything. It's a hot race car. You get a lot of sweat. There's so much mental and physical exhaustion that you have at the end of it each and every race. depending on the length. And while on iRacing, you don't necessarily have that physical aspect as much, unless maybe you have a direct drive wheel and you're trying to look at the force feedback accurately to real life. But mentally it is. You're spending 4 hours, 3.5 hours, 200 laps, 500 miles behind the wheel of a car, making sure you are at full mental acuity at all times behind the wheel, because any lapse of judgment, any lapse of attention, you get distracted a little bit, and the car's going to unravel, and your race is over in a split second. So, maybe in real life, a lot of drivers are scared to win this Indy 500. You can do so on iRacing without much fear, but when you have a long race like this with competition like we've seen today, it is exhausting. I'd imagine after this race is over, nobody's going to want to look at a computer screen at all for the next
they're going to be done for the day, maybe watch some football and pass out at that point if they're in the United States, but that's about it.
And a big battle going on here between Ariel Guerra Jr. once again and Lucas Santos. These are two drivers that have gone head-to-head numerous times today, Ryan, and they never give each other any room. And Guerra still side-by-side through 4. Had to lift a little bit there in 3, and that is going to... no, he's still trying to keep side-by-side, but eventually he's forced to tuck back in line. Boy, these guys are playing with fire.
I think at this point, when you're 4.3 seconds behind, I don't even know if the idea is let's organize and try and catch up to the group. It's more so, why don't we make this fun? Why don't we try and run against each other? Why don't we have a bit of this fun battling against each another and just see what can happen and just gain track position and maybe save some fuel alongside each other, just like Zach Wareham here is doing here with Adam Eckert, one of the biggest movers of today's race at Indianapolis. It's either just trying to make some use and make some entertainment happen in the middle of this group, or whether it's just for all track position. Here comes Guerra back to the inside of Santos. And again, this is for top 10, so no matter where they're finished, it's going to be a top 10 for either of them, given how this race has gone.
It was 4 seconds to the lead pack from these guys right here, so they're letting it get away, but they are battling for position.
Only 2 drivers have won the Indianapolis 500 more than once. Those drivers being Team M. Hauser and Adam Blocker. Drivers that are looking to potentially go for a repeat win that are still in this race would be Robert Grosser, who's now 1 lap down, and more critically, Ethan Agan. Agan, of course, has won one Indy 500 before. His win coming some time ago, though. Of course, Adam Blocker winning last year's rendition of the 500. His last win coming back in the 2023 running this race. With him still very much in the fray here, we could be seeing Ethan Agan trying to become the 3rd repeat winner of the Indy 500 here in the Classic IndyCar Series.
He's ran flawlessly tonight, guys. He's been on it since the word go. I mean, we haven't seen him in any trouble. He's been right in the thick of things on strategy. He's worked very well with Simmons and Bastanin, so give them a bit of credit for the group effort they've been able to put in today, but it's all about having a clean race car, having enough racecraft to keep that organization through and through over 100+ laps over long green flag runs. So for Ethan Agan, it's all about positioning. All you got to be is there within the final 10 to 5 laps. A lot of times we argue when is really go time at Indianapolis. Some drivers like to say 5 to go. Some drivers say 3. Sometimes it's even just the white flag lap when you're going to start to be a little more aggressive and try and go at it for the win. For Agan, it's still a big question mark on when that time is going to be, but now that he's in the position to do so, it's good news. And this is a big development. Pit road entry for Andrew Wood. He cannot make it inside 22 to go.
Oh, they're not safe. They're not safe, Gary.
Yeah, they've been out there racing a little too hard, so he's going to come in and get that last bit of service, throw on a last set of shoes, and put on enough ethanol into that tank to let them get to the end here. So we'll see him hit his marks, goes up on the jacks.
And Florian Gao to the black flag, maybe for an unsafe pit release here.
And Wood is done down and away. So we talked about, oh, Wood, no, he's having problems. He is in the grass on the exit road, and he is now back on the tarmac, but he lost a lot of time, and that might cost him his win right there if we do not end with a late caution.
And you were riding on board with Johnny Garrett there for a moment. This is with Andrew Wood as he leaves pit road here. Just spun the wheels up on cold tires, shot into the infield grass, and that was all she wrote. And then this is what caused Florian Gaud to get black flagged here. And I thought it was for an unsafe pit release. It doesn't look like it was, though. I think it's hit the incident limit.
Yeah, that might be, incident limit right there. He's had a lot of action around him, so he might have had a lot of netcode instances of contact. Hey, in the history of the Indy 500, there's been 75 different drivers to get a win. And when you talk about the how to get 2 wins and how rare that is, only 10 of those 75 have managed to get more than 2 wins, or only 2 wins. So to get into the fraternity is one thing. To get to the fraternity of 2 is entirely different. And maybe we see Egan get that today, and he would sure like that. He has a lot of that win that he has, whether it was a while ago or not, is a lot of experience. And the other 2 guys in front of him should know that they have a former winner behind them. They should know what he knows what it has to take to get past them and get this win.
Oh, I'm sure they're aware. It's more a matter of how do you defend against it. You got to really get into his head, think about what his playbook's going to be. For the time being, you got drivers that are not keen on waiting here, as Wareham has made several looks to try and get around Lucas Santos. You see Santos holding a slightly defensive line. Not going to matter, though. Wareham cuts to the inside here, entering turn number 3. Going to push up from the inside. Ooh. That's not ideal.
Oh.
Bad time for that to happen, but he's going to flash back in, and we keep it all straight.
Kind of scary there for Adam Eckert, just seeing that Santos car blink in and out of existence. Now he's going to feint a look to the inside in turn 1, just hoping that the connection issues doesn't get him here. Top 10 effort for Adam Eckert, who started dead last in this 33 car field, making in from the skin of his teeth, near contact with Santos, pinching him down in turn 2.
Gosh, this is nerve-wracking stuff, Gary. This is... Especially because we're getting closer and closer to a caution, just ending this race outright.
Right. Well, when you talked about when is the time to go, the general rule of thumb back if you were to talk to Rick Mears back in his heyday, it was race to get yourself in the position in the final 100 laps, or 100 miles, excuse me, to win the race. Then now as we kind of get into the more modern era, most of the drivers will say, get me to the last 20. And now I think with the way that the speeds are and the reliability is it's get me to the last 10. But general rule of thumb is get me inside of lap 160, and then I'm going racing. But other than that, everything's about staying out of trouble, staying on the lead lap, and getting myself in a position so I can go racing for that last 100 miles. And a lot can happen inside of 160 laps.
Zachary Wareham looking like he's eager to try and find a way around Ariel Guerra Jr. He has cleared Lucas Santos, and he was willing to make a bit of a aggressive duck to get into 6th, and I'm willing to bet he's going to be looking to make another one here in the 5th place, and yeah, Franz Josef Stum down pit road.
So that's another pit road taker. That could be, that could be a very clear sign why Logan and Ethan have just stayed in line. They're trying to hit a number, and when that number's hit, maybe that's when they go racing. And does maybe Thomas Logan almost followed him too closely up in the wall. But maybe Thomas, out of all this, he's been punching a hole in the air and helping Logan and Ethan. All the while he's had no help, so he's getting the worst mileage. If we saw Wood come to pit road, and Wood pitted on, he pitted on 182, and he was only 19 laps into that stint. He did a bit of a short stop, so I think he's trying a bit of an undercut here, because he's gambling that other people in front of him are going to have to stop. We'll see. And also, I'm not taking into account also on any other stops that Wood made that maybe he filled short. sometimes drivers have problems checking boxes when they come to pit road, and sometimes they might not get a full load. Sometimes they might not get the tires they want. I don't know if any of that has happened to him. It's possible it could have. We just don't know about it yet. Mathematically, I thought it looked like if we were going to be able to do those 35 laps, that everyone should have been good to go, but he came down for a splash at the end, so we'll see. Now as we coming up on 10 to go here very, very shortly, if Thomas doesn't need to come down pit road, along with Logan and Ethan.
Oh, and a disastrous stop for Adam Eckert. He came down, you saw him off of turn 4 come in. He overshot his pit box and hit it in reverse, then wasn't too far forward enough, then went back to the forward gear, and then ended up overshooting again. So 2 times he missed his pit box. Adam Eckert, who had been building up a great run from dead last in the field, is going to practically kill any opportunity of winning this race.
Yeah, ask Scott Dixon the importance of the final pit
hold
stop.
on! Hard into the outside wall for Zach
Wareham into the wall.
And Santos scattering through the grass, trying to hang on. He's going to lose the back end, spins onto the racetrack, and caution is out. And that'll put us to under 10 to go.
And that was just as the leaders were coming in on pit road, guys. Mustanen and Ethan Hagen were on pit road, so will that trap them a lap down?
Oh, my gosh.
No, we're going to have to, hold on, I'll have to see if they came in, pit road was open.
So they got in time. That's the good news. The bad news, these guys can potentially, well, I don't know.
If they made it on the pit road and pit road was open, they can get in there and they can complete their service. But I'm watching a replay, and the big green lights, when Mustanen passed them, was still on.
Well, and here's the critical thing. Simmons, Kinder, Dance, Guerra, they can save fuel now and make it to the end of the race from here.
Yes, they can.
So,
on much older tires, but we've seen today, as right now, Logan is basically coming to a standstill on the racetrack, waiting for the pace car. Track tip is at 117, but we've seen that track position is more of what everyone's been looking for, and 2 tires might not be the end goal here.
Well, and there you.
And we saw exactly what I said would happen is Mustanen was getting worse mileage, and he had to come to pit road earlier.
And of course, taking a look at what brought out the yellow flag as well here, and it was Santos getting a bit too aggressive with Wareham.
Oh,
and
well, no.
Right
nope,
here, then Santos.
Logan's coming to pit road.
Look at Santos here, spins up the tires and nearly took out Andrea Giacometti.
So Logan's coming to pit road along with Seb Kinder, Cameron Dance. So I think Thomas is gonna be behind Ethan Hagen.
Unbelievable. Hagen's going to have the lead for the first time in this Indy 500 today.
Oh, and he went no tires, fuel only.
So back out onto the racetrack for Logan Simmons, and this is going to be the wreck at speed. You see right there, Santos made the move. Wareham tried to come down, and they just got together. Wareham went hard into the outside wall, and then Santos, meanwhile, spins up the racetrack, and that's fine. This, not so much as hello.
Yeah.
Giacometti
so
having
close.
a very close call. Right on board of the 38 car because he kind of got a face full of it.
More than he wanted, that's for sure.
So you're going to see
them as specks up the road. They're so small, and then they just start coming closer and closer. You see the spinning Wareham, and you're like, all right, there's a car up there. You don't expect Santos to come right back up the banking like he does right there.
Good reaction.
Great avoidance for Giacometti, but had enough time to do so as well.
And critically, again, this puts us with under 10 laps to go. Now, we got a caution within 5. We're not restarting this race.
We're done. This race is going to finish under caution, and no green-white checkers here. This is IndyCar racing. We don't do any of that stuff. No gimmicks. But I will say that all 3 of Dario Franchitti's Indy 500 wins came under caution. So they're not any less if you win them under caution. That's just how the way the rules work. But in front of our leader right now, Ethan Hagen, is Giacometti, Eckert, Stumi, and Garrett. They're going to get a wave around here. And he will pick up the restart here momentarily. Next time by.
We're
going to do a sprint to the end.
It would not be the first Indy 500 on Green Flag TV to end under the yellow flag either, because remember, in the Velocity Online Racing IndyCar Series, they went 4 wide for the lead, and just half a lap later, the yellow flag came out for a completely unrelated incident. So, and of course, end of the race. I believe it was Kyle Clenworth.
Yeah, Clinty got that one. So
that won
his
that
big win there.
So anything can happen.
Ethan Hagen, no tires on his pit stop. So he is still on the same set of tires that he did when he changed them in the lap 160-ish, somewhere in there. So he's on the same set of tires. So he's going to go, they are 29 plus 2 right now versus Mustanen, who just has new, fresh tires. Andrew Wood, well, that caution saved his race effectively. Because he made his final stop, remember? And then when he was coming back up to speed, those cold tires lit him up. And he ended up scooting through the grass in the turn 1 infield. He is now back up with the leaders. He is in 3rd spot. And he also has experience with 500-mile race wins at the Lionheart level, albeit in the DW12. So he knows what he's doing. And then there's Mr. Indy. Lucas in 4th spot.
And so here we go. 8 laps the distance.
Wall run.
And boy, what a
20 miles.
no kidding. Boy, it's going to be an intense final 8 laps. The green flag is back in the air. Still have a chance if we get an early yellow flag for this race to restart. But that threshold not far away. The green flag is out, and Ethan Hagen trying to get as big of a jump as he can to break away from the field.
And what a restart from the top 3. Lucas Laville just left in the dust. So much time between himself and Andrew Wood. He's going to spend the rest of this stint trying to gain all that time back with no help, with Logan Simmons running 5th, about 4/10 back of the road. Ethan Hagen hopefully can stay on. Tuomas Mustanen right behind it. Andrew Wood looking for an attempt down the inside. Here comes Mustanen looking off of turn 4.
We got really worn tires versus new tires versus moderately worn tires in the top 3. And Lucas is caught up to this group.
And just like that, Mustanen is through. Andrew Wood closing fast on Ethan Hagen. And looking like Hagen's attempts at an Indy 500 are going up because he just cannot maintain that run with the tires. There goes Andrew Wood down the inside. He's going to take away 2nd.
The mission here is get this squared away as quickly as possible. You don't want to get held up here by the slower Ethan Hagen on tires, and Lucas Laville is hoping that he can get around in very short order. Andrew Wood is there. 6 laps to go next time from Indianapolis, and he's got a shot. He's within a car length. The draft down the front straightaway, looking on the outside to turn 1.
Look at Laville, Mr. Indy up to 3rd now.
Laville has finished on the podium in 5 attempts of his Classic IndyCar Series career. Will today finally be the time where he finishes on the top step? Not if Logan Simmons has anything to say about it, as Simmons will punch through for 3rd. Andrew Wood, meanwhile, trying to set something up on Tuomas Mustanen out of turn number 4. Crash out of turn 4 as one car, Ethan Hagen, clobbers the wall. No caution, though. We'll keep it green. 5 to go.
Kept the car straight, but slapped the outside wall hard. His race is going to be over on the old Firestone Firehawks. And look at the run by Logan Simmons right into the short troop to turn 2. That is all that Mustanen wants to see. These two going at it for 2nd place. Snake trailing to the apron. Simmons is still there.
All the way onto the grass, and now Logan Simmons down to the inside. A caution now could very well end the race as Logan Simmons drives to the inside, picks off the number 2 spot. Mustanen catches the wall. That gives the run back to Logan Simmons and TWRS. Will it be 3 wide for the lead into turn 1? Not quite. They lift out.
It's purple lap. Closers be closing.
A caution now ends the race.
Yes. Next flag ends the race for sure.
And Tuomas Mustanen up front.
Here we go.
The move for Logan Simmons, the inside. A chop from Andrew Wood to Lucas Lavelle. Simmons punches through for the lead. And Mustanen trying to chase him back down.
Easy. Made it look so easy. It just made me wondering the whole time that he was following. He was just biding time, going to the inside, trying to break the draft.
Was that by design, though, by Mustanen, just letting Simmons by for the moment, but understanding he's still got several shots left in these final 3 laps. Cameron Dance has somehow shot his way to third in an unbelievable sequence of events. Got by Laville and Andrew Wood. They're in a close-knit battle for 4th place. As here comes Mustanen again down the back straightaway, waiting for his moment to shine to turn 3 wide.
And 3 wide in the turn numbers, 1 and 2. As Ariel Guerra Jr. fires through the middle, he picks up 6th, and now 2 laps to go from Indianapolis.
Here's the run.
Simmons on the inside, Mustanen on the outside. Dance makes it 3-1 for the lead down to turn number 1. Round the top side for Weber Drop Air Motorsports, but Dance is forced to yield.
He had to go back to the outside, wait for the moment to strike, but he has made his statement off of turn 2 to the back straightaway with 2 laps to go. Mustanen's got the draft. Mustanen peaks up high. Can Dance make an effort? Down to turn 3 he can't. Simmons still in control coming to turn 4.
Gonna have to pass him on the high side through 3, just like Newgarden did Pato a couple of years ago. We're coming to the white flag.
2.5 miles are left in the Indy 500. This race will finish under green. Logan Simmons with the lead of the race. Down to the turn numbers 1 and 2. Simmons tracks up wide, slide drive across the nose of Mustanen. It's into the wall. Mustanen cuts back to the inside, trying to find something into 2. Not able to find that time by as they head to the back straightaway. Simmons goes defensive. Dance stealing turns Mustanen. Dance punches through to 2nd place. Looking for the race lead this time through. To the outside to turn 3. Cameron Dance around the outside of 3, looking for something, coming to 4, nearly runs into the back of him again. Back around the outside of 4, and it's going to be a drag race. Just like last year, here comes Logan Simmons. Dance around the top, Mustanen's closing. Cameron Dance holds on, and they touch at the line. Cameron Dance fends him off for the race win in the 8th annual Paver Cycling Systems Indianapolis 500. And just like last year, a photo finish at the line and a last lap pass.
23 thousandths. 2300, excuse me, 2300s. 023. 023 was the margin of victory.
Unreal.
We could dance the night away now. He's bookend this season with a winner in the opener and a winner in the closer. That's a good way to go into the next season.
Oh my goodness. And look at how close Simmons was to taking Dance out at the line there.
That was unbelievably close. By the way, Cameron Dance was 9th place when we had our final restart of the race and moved his way up to P1 in short order. Cameron Dance becomes the newest additive to the Indy 500 winners list in the Classic IndyCar Series. What a job.
His 4th attempt at the Indy 500. And he takes his first Indy 500 win. He is going to burn it down on the front straightaway. A hard-fought win. And for as rough of a season as he has had, Gary, I mean, this has got to be an extremely good consolation prize. His last win, of course, coming all the way back in March.
Yeah, the last win for him seems like forever.
Boy.
It was two global seasons ago. we're getting ready to go into the winter here soon. It was way back in the spring where he got his win to kick off at Phillip Island back in March 16th. Just right around St. Patrick's Day for those of us in America. But yeah, like I said, he bookended this season with a win at the beginning, win at the end. But the most important thing is every IndyCar driver, real or virtual, will tell you, if I can't win the championship and I can't win any other race all season, then I'm certainly going to win that Indy 500.
But he almost did it. He definitely made contact with the wheel of Tomas Mustanen, who I'm sure has thoughts of his own on this one. And then look at the run around the outside of 4. I mean, this is, talk about heroic for Cameron Dance, and just made the move work. And by about half a car. Dance is going to hold on to take the win.
You know, they ask you the age-old question, hypothetically, where would you want to be on the white flag lap? Cameron Dance says, I want to be third place. I want to watch those two squabble it up right in front of me, and I want to be able to make one move down the straightaway and then just make the second with all of that draft I have with me. Cameron Dance becomes the winner of the 8th annual Indianapolis 500 in the Classic IndyCar Series. Guys, what a finish. I mean, Cameron Dance had been fighting all race long, hung around in the top 10 and the top 15. Didn't really mention him in the spotlight all too much after starting in 10th. But you got to be the hero in the final moments, and that's exactly what Cameron Dance did.
And with that, of course, he completes the tour of the podium here at Indianapolis. Last year he finished third. The year before he finished second, and now he can say he has stood atop all 3 steps of the podium in different years of the Indy 500. Well, let's take a rundown of your official post-race results. By 23 thousandths, it's Cameron Dance taking home the race win ahead of Logan Simmons. Tomas Musadin finishes his race off in third. From there, Jan Hoffman wraps it up in fourth. Andrew Wood back in fifth. Lucas LaVille in sixth. Ariel Guerra Jr. in seventh. Sebastian Kinder in eighth. Lucas Santos recovers to ninth after a late race crash. And then Ethan Hagen down in 10th. Kenneth.
Back in 11th, Franz Joseph Stum ends up there. 12th place for Adam Eckert, who started last in today's field, but had a great job recovering. Andrea Giacometti ends up the 38 car in 13th. Robert Grosser in the 99 in 14th place. He's the first car a lap down, so in total 13 machines finish this Indianapolis 500-mile race on the lead lap. Randy Shoemake ends up 15th. Johnny Garrett 2 laps down in 16th place. Zach Wareham had a good race building until that late race crash, bringing out the final yellow of the afternoon, ends up in 17th. Florian Gowd ends up 18th, 18 laps down, with Bobby Love in 19th, and Christian McCrelly saw him crash at the exit of turn 4 not that long ago. He ends up rounding out the top 20.
And those that were wishing for better days, and it just didn't come here at Indianapolis. Henry Bennett, our pole sitter, finishes 21st. Strauss in 22nd. Molnar 23rd. Stanley in 24th. Again, a lot of these involved in that big wreck off of turn 4. On Law in 25th. Aiken, Barganell, Wilson, Buchanan, and Mark Amini, your top 30, and then rounding out the final positions here of this 33-car field are F-Tink, Lewis Woodall, and Lovegren, and those are, I got credited for 34th, so I will take that 34th place money.
You don't get prize money for that.
I'll spend it on something.
I'm sure you will. Well, we're going to get a chit-chat in here with the driver that finally gets the job done after 3 years of trying. Cameron Dance completes the tour of the podium and finally takes home his first win of the Classic IndyCar Series Indy 500. And Cam, let's talk first about the race, obviously. I mean, heck, let's talk about the final lap. That alone was mental. Contact with Mustaine, and then a pass around the outside of 3 and 4. Virtually unheard of this late in the race, but you managed to get the job done.
Yeah, if you had told me I was going to win this race at the start of the day, I would have said, no, there's no way. Like, our car was just wrecking loose on the long run. Like, I had to throw so many things at it during the pit stops to try and bring some stability back, and we managed to end up bringing it a little bit back, but even then it was still like, but how you going? So yeah, that last caution really helped, and with the fact our short run pace was just so rapid, it was just like, well, time to turn the wick on and just see where we can go. Obviously I had to sit in the pit lane for a little bit longer because I wanted to get some optional repairs done, but in the end it actually paid off, so yeah.
Of course, for this race, this got to be special, right? I mean, your last race win coming back all the way in the season opener at Phillip Island in this championship. I mean, this is a season that just has not gone to win. I know you've expressed a little bit of frustration at how far south things went for you this season. So to go through all of that to then come home and win arguably one of the most prestigious races of the year, almost more prestigious than the championship itself, it's got to feel like a very great silver lining to cap off the 2025 season.
Yeah, 100%. Like, we've had pace pretty much every single time out, but just the way that some races have gone, it's just not been our year, unfortunately. So it would have been nice to take it to Omis and the rest of the boys, but yeah, unfortunately it wasn't to be. But yeah, to top it off with a win at Indy is just awesome, and especially to do after 3 years of trying. Like, we came so close 2 years in a row, and then finally to top it off with a win, it's just awesome.
And of course, we look forward now to 2026. It's going to be a brand new season and a new calendar as well, with the season being pushed a bit further back and a shorter transition season in between. What's going to be the game plan? I assume you're returning to defend your Indy 500 win. Do you plan on becoming the 4th driver in CI's history to take 2?
Yeah, I'll be back for the 500. I know that. Unfortunately, with the way my work schedule is looking, I'm looking like I'm probably not going to be able to complete most of the season next year, just with the way that timing and everything is. So it's been unfortunate there, because I really, really love the series and I love this car. But yeah, we'll definitely be back for the 500 to try and defend our crown, I guess you could say. Whether we'll win it again, I don't know. This race is one of those races where it's like you just got to come into it and go, anything's going to happen, anything can happen. You just got to roll with the punches and just set yourself up for those last 5 laps or last 10 laps, whichever the point is that the final ticket gets called.
Well, we'll wish you the best of luck when we go racing next time around, and whenever we see you on track again. A hard season, but boy, this has got to be an absolutely fantastic consolation prize, taking the win of the Indianapolis 500. Cameron, thank you for joining us here, and we'll see you whenever we see you on track next.
Yeah, cheers, boys. I'll enjoy my milk.
I'm sure you will. Cameron Dance coming home number 1 this afternoon, and the driver that came so close was banging doors like it was a stock car race at the end. It's Logan Simmons standing by with Kenneth Bueno.
Joined by Logan Simmons, ending up 2nd here in this Indianapolis 500-mile race. Logan, you put yourself in the right place at the right time. Final lap, you're in the top 3. You've got a chance at the win. Tell us what happened there on that final lap and what you saw from behind the wheel.
Cameron was trimmed a little bit more, and that's honestly what got it. I tried to just push him to the wall without putting him in the wall, and just like make it as uncomfortable as I could for him. And yeah, it didn't work out today. It's so ridiculously heart-wrenching to finish like that in the 500, because it's so much work for this. It's good to know that we had one of the best cars all day, though. So I would take that at least as a consolate prize. We've had a tough time with this for 6 years now, and we finally got something good out of it. So I guess we can take that win.
It is your best finish in this Classic IndyCar Series Indianapolis 500 since you started making these appearances in this race in 2020. So there's definitely some positivity on that. But talk to us about how this race had unfolded. It became a strategy fest, all about saving fuel until the end. That final caution comes out and gives you guys a chance to be at the front of this field. You elect to pretty much stay out and be right there where you were with everyone else. What was the mindset like during that pit road sequence and all the strategy that was going on to even just make it to the end on fuel?
So when that final yellow, oh, sorry, that's an alarm. When that final yellow came out, I said, look, I've got to pit. I've got to trim this car. That's the only way I'm going to win, because if it was going to go green, we weren't taking tires. How good that would have been, I don't know, but we were going to go for it. And when the yellow came out, I said, well, we're not going to win it by staying out. So let's pit and trim the car out. And I thought I trimmed it out pretty good. Needed a little bit more.
Unfortunately, just short of this Indianapolis 500 race, but still a valiant performance and a very fast car as well. Before we let you go, anybody that you want to shout out or thank for today's performance in today's race?
Well, there's Race 92, Team Watson Racing. We brought them in the fold this year, and it's been a great season for us. We won the team's championships. I believe I won the Oval Championship today, which is great. As at least something great for the season. So yeah, Iconic Motorsports, our partner team, they did a great job this year. We had the drivers champion. Like it's been an outstanding season for us. For the first time, we've started in 2019. I would say this is by far couldn't top this season. So I'm proud of all the guys, Tomas, especially Ethan, for sticking in it. Seb, Kinder, he's done a great job this season. Matthias Strauss done a great job. I mean, it's just been it's been a grind, but it's been fun.
A great season in 2025 closes out here with this Indianapolis 500 finish. Logan, thank you so much for the time, and congratulations on P2.
Thank you.
That's Logan Simmons. Obviously, you can hear the frustration in his voice. He was just a little bit short of the Indy 500 win, Nolan, but he ends up in second.
Thrill of victory, the agony of defeat.
Boy, what a wild race we had here tonight. Tomas Bustinen not going to be available for comment here this afternoon, and something tells me I'm not terribly surprised by that. I mean, he I'm sure is a bit frustrated about how this race ended as well. But for Cameron Dance, an absolutely stellar drive. And critically, guys, this has actually clinched Cameron Dance third place in the driver's standings as well by just 4 points by taking home the win here this afternoon. So talk about getting the job done. And you know, for such a rough season, ending on the podium at the end of the year, that's still not a bad result at all.
Definitely not. I mean, any positive outlook you can get on it, you can get. I mean, it's great. And for Cameron Dance, what a drive he put on today. And what a race we had, guys. I mean, had all the elements of a storybook finish. You had all the drama of the cautions. You had the pit road strategy, all the different characters at the front. And then with a photo finish at the end, it just puts the icing on the cake. What an afternoon here from Indianapolis. A track and a combo that really just never seems to disappoint.
It's been like this all season long with the dominance of Thomas, but somebody else kind of gets the win today. Thomas, he doesn't have to be too upset. The man won the battle. He lost the battle, but he didn't win the war. Or what am I trying to say? He won the war, but he just lost the battle for today. But he's going to come back, and ultimately he's going to get a win here. I mean, just look at how he races. He does very well here. But this is, a couple weeks off. They go to the transition season that we'll have over on P1 here in a couple weeks. And then after the transition season, right back here on Green Flag TV, the start of the next full campaign, and you wipe the slate clean, and he'll approach it with a whole new vigor and everything. But this is the last big 500 of the year until we get to the PRI Hoosier 500 here in a couple weeks in December. So the next big race that we see here on the sim for Indianapolis will be that. But it's a very high bar that the PRI Hoosier 500 has to meet now. Considering the last race, the last major IndyCar League race before the PRI Hoosier 500 finished with a margin of victory of 0.023 of a second. That's a mighty big bar that you have to try to clear, and it just shows you the competition level here. So everyone did a great job today. We talked about the racecraft. The racecraft was very good today. The racing was very good today. The strategy was very good today. And I think in terms of how this ranks as opposed to last year's, even though last year's race was a extremely close finish, I think right there, this year definitely ranks very closely with last year's as well. So good job by everybody. And again, good to work with everybody here in the booth. And Nolan, thanks for having me here all season, buddy. I appreciate it.
It was an absolutely wild season, that's for sure, but there is still more racing action yet to come here on Green Flag TV. It never fully ends here on the channel, does it? There's always something to talk about here, there, and everywhere. Next time we're out, it's going to be for the Mid-Atlantic Racing Series. They are going to be out at the Talladega Super Speedway. That will be on Tuesday afternoon, followed by the Zero Torque Racing League at the Kansas Speedway on Friday night. And then, of course, the Precision Automobile Club Esports GR86 Series at the Thruxton Circuit on next Sunday afternoon. A lot of leagues are currently off for American Thanksgiving, so we'll be seeing the High Tide Race League back at Bristol Motor Speedway, the Beer League back for more next week, as well as the SRA Gen 4 Series and the FTR Events Trophy.ai Endurance Series with their season finale 2 weeks at Barber Motorsports Park. In the meantime, it's been an absolutely amazing season. Thank you once again for VRS for sponsoring the championship, as well as Buttkicker Paper Recycling Systems for all of their support throughout the season. And as always, another big thank you to the Classic IndyCar Series for having us on board for yet more fantastic racing action here this season. Has been an absolute pleasure. Once again, you can check the Transition Series over at P1 before we're going to be back for more for the full 2026 season. My name is Little Ramble alongside Kenneth Bueno and Gary Godso. Thank you all so much for joining us for an absolutely stellar way to close out 2025. We'll see you all back for more in 2026.